I think he found me because I had one of the only Garner chemo dogs on the West Coast, and he had some Epinet Earl Jr. stuff. So he asked if he could breed to him, and so he brought his female down. We did a breeding and got some good dogs off him. And anyway, we sort of like I'm trying to create um guy Bullison, not a Bullison line. What was his brother's name? Eli Jr.
Eli Jr.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm trying to
Yeah.
create an Eli Jr. strain, crossing the different strains of Eli Jr., which is the Chinaman with the Earl Jr. stuff, with some Niggerino stuff. And so I'm working with some different people. Hopefully you know, we could put a strain together that's all Eli Jr., but different families of Eli Jr.
Yeah.
So I really like those dogs. I'll tell you what, man, that Chinaman stuff crossing my old family, man, it took them up a few notches. These dogs are serious bulldogs. So I really like what the Chinaman did for my line.
You like their characters? Because there's certain dogs like I've had that are
Uh,
just loud, that are really loud and they're hard keepers. How are
well,
they?
yeah, yeah. I got my dog straight from Garner, and he's what you would call, you know, a typical Chinaman dog. They're not human submissive. So they're one dimensional. They're straightforward, and you got to work them. And I always say, like, you don't got to be an experienced dog man to own a Chinaman dog. You just got to let it go because they're going to go. Uh, I think some of these family of dogs, you need to have a little more experience because you got, to get the most out of them. But those Chinaman dogs, they're just wired that way. But what I saw with them, they were one dimensional, meaning once they grab their prey, they don't let go. And I didn't, when I did the cross, they started working better, working different holds better. And, for hog and hunting like that, they're not just one dimensional. And plus, when I did the cross, they're more human submissive now. So they were easier to handle. Meaning like they're gonna really try to please the owner. Where the Chinaman dog, he really didn't care. I was like, whether you pet me or not, I don't care. You show me something and I want to work it. So that was what I saw with them.
Oh, so they weren't like they didn't crave a lot of attention, so they wouldn't make a bunch of noise if you left or something like that. Like
No,
some dogs, like I've had red boy crosses, and they're very vocal. They're loud. You leave them, they're screaming. They're doing all that. This neighbors complaining.
yeah,
Yeah,
that's a red boy trait, though. I've heard that from many people that
Right, right.
they want to put a bullet in those red boy dogs because they won't shut up.
yeah, they just won't shut up. Yeah, it gets annoying.
I'll tell you what. You know what I've seen is some of the old family crosses we do. Some of them are screamers, and I was thinking that. And typically, it's when it has when I crossed them on something that had red boy blood, and I always tell everybody that's the red boy blood showing up in these dogs. They won't shut up, but not all of them are like that. But yeah, the red boy dogs are known for being screamers and loud and just not really good for the city.
Yeah, they're more like if you have like a big yard, country type
Yeah,
space.
where
Yeah.
you're not going to have people complaining. People will complain. I'm actually pretty good, even though I'm running like 10 dogs. My dogs, unless you come on my yard and they don't know you, they'll fire up. But outside of that, they're pretty chill. It's not like they're barking all the time. So
Right.
I always know when someone pulled up, because it's when they're barking, it's unusual.
It's like there's a reason for them barking. That's yeah. See, that's what I've been looking for. I'm like, man, I get like in the past I've gotten these high strung dogs because they look good on a chain. They look good when they're doing all the crazy stuff. But it's like, yeah, but then they can be a pain in the ass, man. When you're just trying to just work with them and it's like they always have to be doing something in order to be calm. And even when you take them for a long walk, they still want to go.
Yeah, and I attribute that to intelligence. Okay, and just my experiences. The smarter the dog, he knows the difference of it's time to work and it's time to chill. Um, but some of these dogs, like they're just one dimensional. Like uh, they're just like that all the time. It's like that's all they know. I would call that an intelligence thing. Um, so I bet if you have dogs like that, cross it with like something that's a little smarter, and that probably quiet them down a little bit.
Right. Because like there's times like I've had a few different dogs. I've had some that went back to the game lines, and then I've had some old family red strains, And the old family red strains, they seem to be very, very intelligent. Pretty much you could work with them. It's just that when you uh, sometimes you want to get, sometimes they can be too human like, you know. So you want to get that that balance, like like you said, seem to have gotten a balance between that the game bred grimy, and then you've got the old family red where it's got the balance.
Yeah, and you could really see it on how your old family reds are bred. So, like I have Hempfield Klaus and Hempfield Wilder blood in my dogs. If I
Okay.
breed more toward the Hempfield Wilder, they're they're not as hot. They're they're really you'll actually lose a lot of when you start breeding too heavy on the Hempfield Wilder. They get real docile. They get
Mm.
fine boned. Um, but the Hempfield Klaus blood is more of a rugged dog, heavier bone, more rugged, more aggressive. So as I
Right.
breed,
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
yeah, so I could see it when I breed within my family. So let's say I breed more toward OG Bull, who's more heavily bred a Hempfield Klaus. Those dogs are always more aggressive than if I breed toward Bones, which was heavy Hempfield Wilder.
Right.
So, uh, I could see it now because I've been doing family breeding. If I wanted to breed more for like a hog hunting dog, um, that's not going to be fight crazy. I'd probably breed more toward the Hempfield Wilder. If I needed a little more aggression and prey drive, I would breed more toward the Hempfield Klaus.
Yeah. Because is it Red Baby? Patrick's Red Baby. That was a Klaus dog, right?
Yeah, it's funny because I was looking at my pedigrees on my 44 Magnum dog, and he has a lot of the same blood as the Patrick dogs on the Klaus side,
Right.
Allen's mugs. So if you get back enough behind Patrick's dogs, he had a lot of Allen's uh, blood in him. And what I'm thinking is that Allen breeder he must have had a lot of Klaus blood because I see that blood in a lot of fast lane dogs. And you got to remember, back in those days, there wasn't as many pit bulls as there were today. So if you were breeding a certain strain and it was working, a lot of people were using it.
Hmm.
So, yeah, I mean, if you ever get a chance, try to do some research on that Allen's mugs, Allen's other stuff that's behind Red Baby. I think it's all Klaus bred. And another one that shows up in my dogs, which was a trip, was Crenshaw had a pure Klaus dog that he bred to Tojo, and that created a whole strain of dogs that
Which Crenshaw? Ed Crenshaw or James Crenshaw?
James Crenshaw, yeah, he had a pure Klaus dog, and he bred it to Tojo and produced a couple sisters that went on to produce some fast lane dogs. Um, and you don't see it too much, but I found it in my dog's pedigree, so it was something that worked when you cross that Eli Jr. on the Klaus stuff.
Mm.
Yeah. I meant to ask you. This is a perfect time. That Daphne bingo breeding. You
Yeah,
know, Daphne being the heavy. I look at that as a masterpiece. A good work of art. Right there. and she's old family, to the core. Uh, what are you expecting, and how does Bingo, being the pure red boy dog, how does he fit in to the family? Like, how is his blood going to be accepted? If we're looking at it from a pedigree standpoint, is it similar? Is it going to be like a total out? Is it going to be to explain a little bit of that to us?
Yeah, I think
That's a good question.
yeah, that's it depends who you talk to.
Right.
There you got your traditionalist guys that they pretty much dick ride Hempfield blood. And if it ain't Hempfield blood, it's not old family red. I disagree with that. What history has shown, and if you're a breeder and you study genetics, you just look at the genetics of the dogs, not the family name. Red Boy does carry a lot of the Ferguson centipede blood. Okay, so that Ferguson centipede blood is the forefather to all the Hempfield dogs, to all the old family red-nosed dogs. So it should click because technically it's within the same family. And when you're lining up genetics, what you're hoping is the Ferguson centipede blood in the red boy is going to click with the Ferguson centipede blood in the old family red, and that those traits are going to complement each other, and you're going to get some fire out of it. I think the other thing with the Colby blood in Red Boy, my dogs do have Colby blood through the Fonseca Pincher stuff. So it should click, I think anytime Colby Dime, I mean, if you're doubling, tripling up on Colby Dime, you're going to get deep game dogs. And so I would look at the pedigrees because they're so tightly bred. And this is what people don't understand. When they're family bred and they're tightly bred like that, you got to go back 8-9 generations because they're pulling from deep in the gene pool now. It's not like you're doing 2 outcrosses that probably going to pull in the first 3 or 4 generations. When you're doubling up and tripling up, and I think some of our dogs are like 25, 30 times certain dogs now, that means the percentages of the genes that dog's going to contribute is going to influence your pups. So I really think what you're going to get is deep game, intelligent dogs that look like old family red-nosed dogs, red noses. And then I think for me is I'm going to blend that back into my pure stuff. And they're just going to be harder driving, deeper game, longer winded. That's what I suspect.
Right. I thought it would complement the blood. If you were a old family fan or a red boy fan, I think you could use a piece of raw material like that with the bloodline.
Well, let me tell you a little secret. If you look at some of Katie Marlowe's old publication, Sporting Dog Journal, she advertised Red Boy as Old Family Red.
Right. If you look in the old, yes, exactly. If you look in the old magazines, some of those old advertisements, I've seen them in some of those groups where they posted them, and it says "old family." Yeah.
And she was really marketing those dogs before Red Boy became a family. She was marketing those dogs as Old Family Reds. Now, what I don't know was she just saying because they carried the Ferguson centipede blood in them, they were part of the Old Family Red no strain, or was she just sort of jumping on the bandwagon and trying to promote them as Old Family Reds? Because at that time, the Hempfield dogs were still pretty well sought after. But if you pull her old advertisements, she advertised Red Boy as Old Family Red. As a matter of fact, some of her breedings that aren't out there, she advertised, and I think she bred Red Boy to some pure Sirona stuff. So she was actually breeding him to Sirona blood, which is Hempfield Klaus. but you don't see too much of that anymore. But yeah, I think she documented it. I read a publication on it.
Yeah, they took a lot of those dogs and started using them for confirmation. I mean, they're really good looking dogs, you know. But
Yeah, so if you want like the Serona dogs, actually, Mary, I forget her last name. She was married to Gary Hammonds. Okay, so those Serona dogs that she had, which were the Hempfield Klaus with the art blood in them, those are fast lane dogs, and they were working those up here in the Midwest off I think I-84 is what I heard, but they didn't report them. They weren't reporting those dogs to Sporting Dog Journal. It was just sort of like a regional thing.
right.
So if you can get some good Serona blood, the Hempfield Klaus blood, that
Mhm.
tends to really click. And I think that's why, like if you look at Grand Champion Hellbent's pedigree, he's a Hempfield Klaus crossed on an Indian Bolio, Tombstone Bolio dog. And as a lot of the Michael stuff, all those old dogs, they were using the Klaus blood crossed on the Bolio blood and getting good results.
Right, right.
Even
I don't see too much of that Serona blood.
which one?
I don't see too much of that Serona blood.
I probably got the Titus, some of the Titus. Me and George Stuckel up in Canada.
Okay.
My dogs are heavily Serona Motorhead. George, he did a brother sister breeding since 1985, so he has like the purest Serona blood because that's all he's ever bred with brother sister.
You said he did a brother and sister just all the way since 1985.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah, and those dogs they come out a little funky looking. They come out with no eyes and
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he needs an outcross. We've all told him, but
Wow.
there's no talking to him. He actually says, "I got the purest Serona." I'm like, "Yeah, but I don't know if that's a good thing."
Yeah, like that. Yeah, it gets to the point where you can't be too kennel blind. Like Narad, he was almost like that, you know. But I mean, but he did have some outs. But he was not really into outcrossing. And when he did outcross, he mainly went back to the red boy stuff. You said
Yeah,
Maritz Bud and Creed's Iron Dusty, they have similar structures and look pretty much the same.
well, the
So,
reason NORAD did that was the bottom side of those dogs. So the dam on those dogs,
Iron Ruby,
yeah, they go back to the Ross Red Devil blood. So what
right,
NORAD was saying was by breeding to those red boy dogs, he was actually doubling up on the Ross Red Devil blood in them.
right.
And that's why he did it, and it worked for him. But those some of these people, they're not really improving the line or evolving it. They're just keeping a family name alive, or they're trying to keep a family name alive without.
Wow, brother sister breeding since 1985. I mean that right there. That's oh my goodness.
Well, what do
Yeah,
you think about the red boy strain though? Because I mean, it's not nowhere near like that. But like you said, you pulling from dogs way back. It's triple down, quadruple down on certain dogs.
When you're breeding them to the point where they're not developing eyes, I mean,
Well,
yeah,
no, that's because he bred it like real closely tight. But Red Boy's not as close tight. But shit, if you just throwing Red Boy in there for the last when Red Boy died, what 30 years ago?
yeah, 40. I think.
40?
Yeah, I think he died
You
in
see what
like
I'm saying?
81. Yeah,
So you still
I
using
mean,
heavy Red Boy dogs.
and
right.
that's something we
I
have
got
to
my
take
guy
a look
Magic.
at.
Magic had to come through when we talking this. I see Magic. We gotta have Magic in the build, man. Salute, Magic.
You know I gotta come in for this one. What's good, bro?
Come on, man. We cooking, man.
No,
So,
no, y'all got the iron hot today.
Man.
Yeah, buddy.
well, this is what's going on with Red Boy, and they're repeating exactly what happened to the Hemphill dogs. So you got a lot of youngsters who say Red Boys are red noses. Well, no, they're not. You know, the original Red Boy dogs came in different colors, but now you got people breeding them as red noses and saying that Red Boys are, that, and that is, uh, you know, exactly what happened to Hemphill. They started breeding for color and pedigree,
Okay,
and
so when hold on, stop right there. So when did the red boy stop being red nose? That's very very interesting. Yeah, I mean you talking to a guy that's been following red boy since the '90s, and I mean
yeah.
I've sat with some of the elites. You talking red boy, so I'm gonna kind of need you to kind of expand that. And I'm not saying that you're wrong. I just think the way you explain is very interesting
Yeah.
when we're talking the red boy because I mean even
So
going back to the Neurod, I mean, all that does play a part because
But
the
then you
the
got the Brandy
Neurod
girls
family.
and all those dogs.
Well,
yeah.
Brandon was a double bred cotton bullet dog. That's why she was brindle. But I mean, but I want to hear this. That's very interesting. So I'm listening.
So go back to some of the early Red Boy Sporting Dog Journal champions. They were black and brindles. Uh, and I think the termite line and different lines of Red Boy, um, they were not red noses.
Okay,
So
but the black and brindle came from Brandy. They didn't start presenting the brindle and some of the black. Well, some of the brindle with the black coat to them until they start implementing the heavy influence from the cotton bullet that was implemented from Cleo that produced Brandy. But
yeah,
until she implemented that family of dogs, no, they were red nose because I have owned bred and sat with some elite that didn't have the brandy line in them, and some that had a very small, and I mean less than 10%, that didn't display none of the brindle. And no matter how you cross it, you never got a brindle when you stayed within the red boy family. So I'm gonna kind of need you to
yeah.
kind
And
of
I
go a
guess
little bit.
let me clarify what I'm saying is Red Boy was never, in my opinion, bred as a red nosed dog. It was bred off of Red Boy himself, who was a red black nose. So he wasn't red nose. So you're gonna have by line breeding off Red Boy, you're gonna have black nosed dogs in that strain, and somewhere along the line, I think Katie Marlowe, who actually started doing the inbreeding, they started turning red nose on the Marlowe dogs.
That recessive gene came out.
It was
Right,
just like how the old family red came along.
right.
Same thing. Yeah.
But there are strains of red boy dogs that are not red nose. So that would be the discussion with those people is like, well, are red boy dogs red nose or are they just line bred red boy? I think that's
Just
really,
like when you go back in the Corvino line, a lot of those Corvino dogs, brindle.
yeah. So, but the newer generation, I think, you've been around long, but if you got these young guys, uh, you could probably show them a black red boy dog that's pretty heavy bred red boy, and they would say that's not a red boy dog because it's not red nose.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. There are some people who believe that and say that.
Yeah, and I think
But they've been
that's
so recessive over the years. It's
yes.
hard. It's hard to find one of today that's not a red nose. I mean, if you want to say it's a red boy dog,
Yeah, I think the termite line still might be black and
well,
brindle.
termite got a lot of Jocko in there though.
Yeah.
That's a lot
Yeah.
of the heavier red boy Jocko dogs. The termite line
No, it
be
wasn't
heavier Jocko dogs.
the
But
assassin
there's was that yellow John bred to some dog back then that wasn't a Jocko dog. It was some other bred type, and it was black. They started producing black red boy dogs.
Yeah, and
So
I think
I'm not saying you wrong, but when is the last time you seen a black red boy dog? I'm that was all red
it's been a
boy.
lot.
No,
Yeah,
Oh no,
it's been
it's been a long time. Most definitely, it's
well,
been
I
a long
mean,
time ago.
we
What
probably to go about
they'll do,
25
they'll
years or
cross with
better.
Maitland's outlaw shit.
yeah.
Yeah, but the
Uh,
minute outlaw is not it's not as heavy influence as the red boy family is. See, you
Yeah,
talking
But
you
they put
talking
it
now.
up
Now
under
you're
the
at
same umbrella, just like they put the bully son dogs all in the same umbrella. You know what I'm saying?
yeah,
They
but see that the outlaw has a heavy influence of Snowball. The Snowball is the family that came through the Lonzo that
yeah,
was
exactly.
part of
Right.
the so that's where you'll get that
Yeah,
that
that's
different recessive gene. I'm talking
yeah. There you go.
staying within the parameter. See, like I said, you talking to a red boy guy. I can give you all the
Yeah.
ins and outs.
'Cause
So
that was
the
it was Alonzo dog that Yellow John dog bred too. That's what. Yeah, it was Alonzo dog. Yeah.
Yeah. What about the old assassin dogs? Are they still around?
that,
yeah, they still
that's the
around.
outlaw. That's
They
the
fought in
outlaw.
between though.
Yeah. Are they?
Um,
Assassin's the outlaw shit, ain't it?
no, he's the outlaw. He's talking is the outlaw that's the backbone of the oh, what's my guy name down south? Shoot, let me think for a second.
There's Metal
Oh
Dog. There's Wild Side.
no, it's a family well known. When I say it, you'll know it. Um,
You talking about the outlaw that came off of Friendly Bow?
no. The outlaw he's referring to he's an assassin. No, no. He said assassin, right?
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
You did say assassin, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
So
look it up.
the assassin blood is part. There was the backbone of the what's the black dude name? Hot dog. Jacob. Old man, Mr. Jacob. So Mr.
Yeah.
Jacob, family dogs. Um, the assassin was the backbone. Was a contributor. Let me get it right. The assassin was a big contributor. Mr. Jacob family dogs that he built.
Yeah, and I'm
So
looking at the pedigree right now. It's actually Yellow John, inbred Red Boy on the bottom, and then it looks like some Lupus, Colby stuff on top. That would be Jacob's Assassin 2.
right.
He don't got the Metland's outlaw in there.
No.
Super G Net, the Super G Net. That's why the Super G Net blood is what
Oh,
if
Super
you're
Nat.
looking
Yeah,
for.
Super Nat.
Yeah,
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 Supernet.
yeah.
Yeah.
I
yeah.
know I was gonna think of it. Yeah, but
I'm
Mr.
really,
Jacob was the one that started that Super Net blood down in Carolina.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Okay,
Hit
yeah.
that
So
like
that's
button, y'all.
yeah.
Hit that
That was
like.
Now
So
you
you guys
wanna
want to come in when we arguing, then we get to cooking, and then now come on now, hit that
but
button.
so. It goes
yeah,
back to
if you look at those strains of Red Boy, uh they're not red noses. The Super Nat dogs and the Assassin dogs. There used to be more of them. You don't see them as much now because it seems like in recent years it's the Pitt Island and the Katie Marlowe stuff that's dominating the Red Boy blood now.
right,
Right.
And those dogs are red noses.
but those Cottingham dogs, they have black noses.
Yeah, but they're not red boy. They're not pure red boy. Cottingham dogs have the
Yeah, they would
teal.
be more like teal and yeah.
Yeah, they have that teal outcross in them. But when you look at the red boys today, at least what I'm seeing a lot,
So
it's
they're
going to
not
be
really considered red boy dogs because Cottingham dogs.
a lot of people don't consider them red boy dogs. They consider them a substrain of red boy, but they have a lot of the Colby blood in them.
Oh yeah.
Hmm.
We know Mike Milrod wrote a big article about the Cunningham dogs, and I think he gave a great explanation with regards to the Cunningham family.
Well, if you go back enough,
I didn't see that one yet because well, they seem to kind of act like I mean, I had one that was a hard keeper. That boy, I mean, he barked and barked and barked and barked. He acted just like a red boy dog.
yeah, and
Well,
if you look at the Cottingham dogs and you look at the Zebo Vindicator dogs, they're related. They all come off one of the
Oh,
Hempton dogs.
that's what I was mentioning about the outlaw earlier when I said is it related to Finley's bow because we mentioned the La Passe stuff that goes back to the Kobe. Isn't that how Finley's bow bred?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you really like, you really wanted to study your genetics and do like a what I call an upside down pyramid, take
Right.
your dogs. They're all going to go back to a lot of the same dogs one way or another.
Right.
Uh, so, you're going to have like your red boy. I mean, basically, what I call red boy is your Colby old family red genes because that's what made up red boy. And then, each family is going to be like a Dibble O family red cross or a Dibble Kobe cross
Hmm.
that makes up the majority of the genetics of your family.
That does seem about right. That seems about right.
Yeah, and you got to look like what was popular in the 50s, 60s, and 70s, which our dogs today are bred off of. And back there, it was either Colby, Corvino, Family Red, any
Yeah.
stuff. I mean, those were the dogs that were fast lane and winning. So
Right.
uh, everybody was competing against those dogs, so they just were using those dogs to build their own families. You won't find any other strains like they probably died off or they just couldn't compete. So what's we have today was built off the winners and competitive dogs of the past.
But going back and thinking about that, but then yeah, that does make sense with some dogs being brindle and some dogs being red nose because if it's if it's got some Kobe and some old family red, we know most Kobe dogs are brindle. I mean, there's got some white, black and white, but a lot of those dogs were brindle. And then you got the old family, so then they're going to produce some brindle dogs, some red dogs, some depending on what they're bred to. But like you said before, there's a lot of people they inbred their dogs, or when they did breed them, they bred them to other red nosed dogs because a lot of those red nosed dogs were very popular at one point. There are some people that believe that they were magical dogs because of how they were so game.
Well, if you look at any family, the Red Boy family is one of the very few, and I'll say one of the top three that down in history they have been able to be inbred for many many generations and not lose as much as you see other family lose. And I'm talking size, I'm talking a lot of the recessive traits. The Red Boy family is one of the very few that has been able to hold that gene outside of the Milrod family.
Did you guys
That's
hear that
why Mike
story of how
Milrod. I'm sorry.
you guys hear that story of how the red nosed dogs became so popular? I guess there was like some classic match some back about I don't know, about 100 something years ago where it was like a blue
No,
dog
it was in the early '70s, late '60s. I've heard it. But go ahead.
where it was like some blue dog and a red dog, and then the red dog won. So then everybody started wanting the red dogs. Did you hear that story?
It
Yeah,
wasn't a blue dog, but yeah, I've heard the story.
What was it?
that's
What was it? I heard it was a blue dog. I heard it was went back to
it
some.
was Cersei Jeff at the 1937 convention.
Okay,
Tudor went into Bob Hemfield. They were both
so
light,
that's almost 100 years ago.
yeah, and they were both Lightner
Oh,
dogs.
the debate.
Yeah, one was the red family. So Lightner had two strains. He had a black strain and he had a red strain.
All
And
right,
at the 1937 convention, his two strains met, and Hemphill handled the red dog, and Tudor handled the black blue dog, whatever color it was. But the blue dogs were actually Corvino bought them all after Runyon lost to Hemphill or Cersei Jeff, and they say Corvino bred a lot of those dogs, and they show up like in going like Barney's pedigree.
right.
They were Runyon dogs, Runyon Imp and Runyon Dan, and some other dogs like that.
And some of those ruffian staff dogs are bred down off of that, like uh,
Yeah,
one like Barney and Tudor's Blackjack.
well,
It
up
was more
until
heavy to the blackjack over in Russia. That's what you'll find over there, and that's because one of the people. uh, is still following the expert family of the makeup of what those dogs were supposed to represent and look like. So if you're looking for some heavy old time blackjack blood, it will be in Russia.
What people don't forget is Earl Tudor didn't care about breeding. All Earl Tudor cared about was match dogs, and he imported English staffs up until the early 70s. And the reason being was English staffs were harder biting than pit bulls. Pit bulls were gamer, and he started breeding those to his pit bulls to get the harder mouth. So a lot of
I
those
heard
old,
that Maurice Carver did the same thing.
yeah, and they didn't care. It's like as long as the dog won, they didn't really care. But you got to remember, back in those days, staffs were matched too. They were just registered with AKC, not UKC or ADBA. It wasn't until after 1976 that you
All
started
right.
seeing people breeding them more for the show, and they became a totally separate uh, breed. But a lot of the early dogs, especially Colby and Corvino dogs, were dual registered with AKC and UKC as Amstaffs and Pit Bulls. And even if you look at Red Baby, she has some staff blood, not like show staff, but pit staff in her.
Right.
And that's back in those days, that's just the way it was. But I mean, if you really wanted, I mean, if you really knew what Carver and Tudor and all those guys did, I don't know, you'd probably be very surprised.
Oh yeah, no, I heard some stories.
Yeah.
Man,
Yeah,
yeah.
they stealing dogs, they were stealing papers, they were, you name it, they were doing it.
That's wild, man.
Yeah. And that's why I'm a big believer, breed your own family, at least you know what you got. So, but a lot of those old timers, I mean, they just did what they had to do to win. I mean, Tudor said himself the reason he won so much because he knew how to cheat the best. So he was a good cheater.
That's why that makes sense. That's why he had 16-time winner blackjack and all that, man.
So let me ask you this: why do you think Old Man Lightning won for 40 years straight?
Probably because he was a good breeder and a good cheater.
Okay, but you do know his wife did the majority of the breeding of the dogs, though.
The what was that?
Yeah, I said you do know his wife was the one that selected the one that was bred.
Yeah, I mean, I think any of those old timers, even Tudor's wife was very involved with their dogs in the breeding. Matter of fact, I had a dog from Vera Storms back in the early 90s, and Vera Storms was Earl Tudor's niece. And so she had some of Tudor's dogs on her yard. But she was real active. Her and her husband were real active in the breeding part of some of they call them the Tudor Storm strain of dogs. They were a fast lane strain back in like the 70s. But yeah, I mean a lot of these stories, a lot of people wouldn't believe them if you told them. No, that didn't happen. Oh yeah, it happened.
Well, they got these franchises that's lead them down a blind tunnel that
Yeah.
got them think that they got the best that ever was created that's been dead for 20 years.
Well, but if that was true, and this is what you got to say, there is no one today or in history that dominated the dog world. You had big breeders that were very competitive, but it wasn't like they weren't beatable. Corvino was beatable, Colby was beatable, Tudor was beatable. So none of them had the market on it.
Right.
That still applies today. Today is like you could take a backyard bulldog and surprise somebody.
Yeah.
It's just a bulldog's a bulldog. It's gonna do what it does.
Well, now if you go to Walmart will tell you they got something better.
Right? I really think it comes back to genetics and testing and calling your dogs and just picking the best for your program. And I think if you could just stick to that formula, you're going to have a higher percentage rate of good dogs.
A lot of kennels. There's some kennels that are just really good at marketing. I mean, like Southern Kennels back then. You know, coming from out of Ecuador or wherever they were promoting their dogs from. I mean, it was just every time you saw something, some Mayday offspring, this one or this that, and it was just all in your face, all on the internet back then.
Yeah,
So
and
they
I even
did
think
really good with the marketing.
yeah, and Tant even said he didn't think they were any better than his dogs. He said exactly what you said. They just marketed them better.
Well, I mean, look at the Red Boy strain. It wasn't marketed the way the Mayday dogs were marketed, but then look how they hold the test of time. So I
Well,
mean,
but I used to see
A lot,
Katie
a lot,
Marlowe's.
a lot of people crossed into them because those popular dogs like Mayday, you know, had Red Boy in them. You got, you know, Tanch Yellow. He's half Red Boy. Everybody knew that Jocko wasn't producing nothing without Red Boy. What has Jocko produced without Red Boy?
same thing I've been saying about G. No, it's no different.
Man, Jeep, no, that's totally different. Jeep and his siblings were doing things. You heard of Jeep and his family. What has Jocko done without Red Boy?
They were a one hitter quitter, just like any other artist that get a record deal. They known for one famous record. That's what the G was. They was a one hitter wonder. That's what they were.
That whole litter did something from Jeep all the way down to Missy.
Okay. Themselves, but they didn't
And,
produce nothing like them.
But let's
Not without
break
a
it.
Red Boy.
hold
Let's
on, hold on, weirdo, Long's weirdo. Yeah, man. What about uh, what about that other son? Uh, Garrett Shorty and
Red Boy.
no, that's Tab. That's like that Tab line. You talking about something?
Gary Shorty ain't no red boy dog.
Shorty's not a red boy dog. That's Garrett Shorty's not a red boy.
Deep dog. Gary Shorty right off Jeep.
Yeah, when you're like, okay, Tab Irene, Tab, even though he was half red boy, but he bring it back to Irene, which is not. So it's more Jeep blood than red boy. And then what about that other dog off? That was double bred off Jeep. Garrett Floyd. I mean, well, I hear he's not one of the better producers, but he's thrown some good dogs down there, and he's a good dog himself. Fairly good. Yeah.
I'll say it and I'll stand on it. The Jeep family of dogs would never have been nothing without the Red Boy family giving them help. And I'm gonna
Are
stand
you
on that.
serious?
I'm positive.
Oh my goodness,
And
that's
I'm gonna stand on
insane.
10 toes.
The Honey Bunchers. No, okay,
No,
go
don't do
back.
that, Magic. Don't do that. Yeah, and Magic been a real knowledgeable dude up until this point right here. Magic, stop it.
Let's take a step back now. Okay, so look at the Jeep dogs. Okay, I talked to Crenshaw back in the day before Jeep Red Boy was a strain. Back in the
Black
80s.
Okay,
It
go
was,
ahead, go
it
ahead.
was all Jeep. You know, Crenshaw actually, I heard he didn't even like the Red Boy cross, but he did it. But then the Red Boy Jeep dogs were better than the pure Jeep dogs. And that's why it sort of took over. But you got to look at the genetics of the dogs. Like Red Boy, bred pure, okay, inbred, family bred, pretty much is going to be a deep game, long winded dog, okay, and that comes from the Colby family red blood in it. When you go heavy Daibo, like the Jocko stuff and the Chinaman stuff and anything that's heavy Daibo is going to pull more from the Daibo traits. Now, one of the things that was common back in the day, the Daibo dogs were killers, but couldn't go over 45 minutes. So
Mm.
that's they had to cross them on the old family red and Colby blood. We're doing the same thing today because there's still line bred Daibo, heavy Daibo, or they're heavy Colby and Old Family Red. We're just calling them different things today. But you do the same thing with Red Boy blood. Is if your dogs are quitting, you're going to add Red Boy. You're going to bring Red Boy to it. So they brought it to Jeep, they brought it to Jocko, and you get a better dog. But you still need that heavy mouth from the Daibo side to have finishing ability.
Okay, I got a question. So I have talked to some cats. I talked to old school Sonny, and he had mentioned the Red Boy Jeep, Red Boy Jocko Cross. But he says in his personal opinion, he would go with the Eli Carver depending on what strain it comes from. Now you got some of the Eli stuff, and but they say you don't need the Red Boy if it's got a heavy boomerang influence. What do you think about that? When it comes to the Bully Son Boomerang Bolio cross, they say that's a good cross without Red Boy.
It is, and I ran it, and I still run it. So they ain't lying to you. See,
Yeah.
a lot of crosses that you are mentioning that we'll mention today don't get talked about in public because it goes back to the old timers that they'll give you the dog, but they won't give you the recipe. So now what we're doing, we're free giving the real recipes. So
Right.
what you just expressed is the real recipe that has been shown through test of time and that is still producing right now.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's two types of Carver dogs. There's old Carver and new Carver. Okay. So Carver ran his dogs off of Ironhead. Okay. And that was his family of dogs. And then when Bullison came along, he created the more of the Eli Carver blood.
Okay, but let me stop you. You're forgetting one main ingredient. Before he did Bully Son, his main ingredient was Black Widow. Hence
Yes.
the reason why Black Widow was, well, we'll just say Black Widow was his main ingredient.
Right.
Yeah. I concur.
And she was an old family red Daibo cross.
Yeah,
Yeah, but he had some other stuff in
hey.
there that I mean ain't to be disclosed because we can't verify it was yes or no. But for conversation purposes, we just say yeah, you are correct.
Yeah,
But
that's
that
why she
wasn't
was
it.
stolen so much. She was stolen by Tudor and Carver a couple times.
That's crazy.
So OG,
Yeah,
have you thought about putting some Bolio Klaus in with that old family red nose?
Oh,
yeah. I was
that would be
talking about it today. You know, I just did a video and I was like, one of my dogs, she's really rough, more on the Hemphill Klaus stuff, like what I would consider an old Klaus bred dog. And I was thinking, like, God, it'd be cool to breed one of her pups to a type bred Tombstone Bolio dog
yeah.
because that's what, if you go back, if you look at the Kizenbaugh dogs, they're basically Hemphill Klaus crossed on Bolio. And if you look at the
Right.
Michaels dogs, the Grand Champion Hellbent dogs, those are the same thing. Hemphill Klaus crossed on Bolio.
So how much do you know about the CP dogs? Since we talking
Yeah, I don't know
those
too much
crosses.
about them. I know one of my friends has them. He's gotten a couple from CP,
Uh
but
huh.
I've never had any firsthand experience with them.
Okay.
I'm not hip to CP. What's CP?
They out of
Canadian
Canada.
Pete, yeah, Canadian Pete. I think they're a
Oh,
Tombstone.
Canadian Pete. Oh, okay. Yeah. Okay. I heard it. Canadian Pete. Yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of the stuff, um, is really just stick with like the crosses. Like, look at what's working. That's what I tell people. Don't just look what's always worked and just sort of try to follow it.
Hmm.
But I think there hasn't been a pure strain that has created champion and grand champions. I think most of them were crossed, right?
Correct.
Yeah, I think So you got to look at it when they're crossing these dogs, create champion and grand champions. Pure strains tend to be more brood stock.
I wouldn't say necessarily brood, but
Yeah. Were you going to finish? Because I
no,
think,
I'm just. I mean, that's what I'm just saying. I wouldn't just necessarily say just brood because you have to look at what family that you're bringing into your program. So let me just give it from this perspective. If we want to talk, let's say, let's say heavy influence Daibo. Um, Now that would be a durable yes brood because that family has been bred tight for so many years that the blood has now become dormant that it's now become brood. Okay, so then let's move forward to the old family red, the Norrod. Them dogs ain't just brood. I know a person right now that has some of the last of Mike Norrod blood, and it looks like Tony the Tiger. Great, yeah. It ain't just brood. Yeah. Okay, so we'll move forward. Let's take Maurice Carver, the heavy influence Black Widow. Well, of course, the bully son, which is the cross. But even those dogs, they ain't just bruised. So it just and then the red boy. So it just all depends on what family that you're putting in that equation. Yes, some will be bruised, but when we're talking other families, they are equally balanced in multiple categories.
yeah. So it really depends which line of NORAD you're running. Because NORAD had three-way crosses. So he had the Red Boy on the Ross Red Devil on the Gaines Fargo stuff, Turtle Buster stuff. That
Hmm.
stuff, and even has it with the blackjack in it. That stuff is real competitive today. But if you go to inbred, where he did more heavy on the Ross Red Devil, where he doesn't, those dogs tend to be more brood.
So you do know Mike Milrod also implemented a fourth cross, and he crossed in the grand champion Virgil blood also.
Yeah,
So
Yes.
yeah,
you'll find the Milrod with the heavy influence of the grand champion Virgil line, which a lot of people like. I mean, I'm different. I'm not saying nothing bad on it. I'm just speaking that that was another ingredient that he wanted to bring into his family of line that he felt that he wanted to add a different vigor to it. So, and a lot of people don't know about it because a lot of them don't have the no raw dogs.
Yeah,
So,
my buddy has one of those.
what the gambler cross?
Yeah.
I could have had one, man. I could have had a couple, but I don't. That's not what I want.
Mhm.
Because I mean, the guy that has it, he's a cool guy, and I mean, he'll work with you, but he's
yeah.
not really into a lot of the shenanigans that these guys is out here doing. So I mean, if you present yourself in a very professional way, is it possible likely that you probably could get one that would have some of the last real Mike Norrod blood crossed to the gambler.
Right,
As a matter
right.
of fact, he just did a breeding and just sold a few pups here a few weeks ago.
Okay, I think I might know who you're talking about.
Hmm.
Yeah. So when we're talking families, like for instance, I have Mayday, Chinaman, Old Family Reds. So I got three-way crosses, I got a pure, I got 50/50s. It really depends which line you're talking about within that family.
Yeah, I had one off one of the Narod Kennels, but it was some years back, directly off of Champion Gambler. It was bred to Martha, Gambler to Martha. He was all right.
Yeah, I haven't tried the NORAD blood. I know a guy who wants to bring one down and breed to my Mayday Old Family Red Cross. Oh wait, I'm lying. Yeah, we did do a NORAD cross, and I heard those dogs. I didn't do it. I bred to a female that carried NORAD blood, and I heard all those pups turned out really good.
Yeah.
But the big popular cross back in the day was NORAD Eli. So that was
Oh,
successful.
No, the public cross was the Neurock to the Red Boy because it got so bad. Ironline shut his whole breeding program down. They were stealing them dogs left and right. See, them boys was not aware of the cross that Neurock Red Boy was presenting, and you had Ironline, you had Neurock, and you had another name I won't say. We'll just stay with them two, but it was about four people. And once them guys were privy to start getting those pups, man, they start stealing dogs off the yard at massive amount of numbers to the point where guys had to shut their yards down. So no, the popular cross was the New Rod Red Boy.
oh no, that gambler cross. I had the no rod red boy, but there was another cross that was really good. Was the no rod with the Boudreaux blood? Yeah, that the boot like Boudreaux's Check and Shannon and those dogs. That was a good cross. Yes, yes, indeed. He was keeping that a lot of that blood to himself, though. He wasn't letting that blood to the public. He would rarely let that blood to the public, but that was a good cross, though.
No, no, I'm not saying it wasn't. He said popular. He
Oh,
said popular. Well, that's what I'm
Yeah,
referring to.
what
The
I
New
believe the
Rod Red Boy is what caused a lot of camps that had it at a high number to stop letting guys come on the yard and do breedings or pick
yeah.
up pups because guys will find out where they live and man, they still they almost getting their whole yard stolen behind that, and they were serious.
yeah,
Yeah.
I thought the NORAD Red Boy crosses occurred after the Eli crosses.
No, it was reversed because the no rod Red Boy cross. I think Mike started that cross in the early 2000, maybe close to the late 90s.
But no, Old Family Red was the last blood that he started working with. He had worked with other bloodlines before he started using the Old Family Red. That's what he told me out of his own mouth.
Hmm. Yeah, I thought he was running the
He
Eli.
started working with the Old Friendly Reds uh, in 1969, but he had other bloodlines before that. You said one of his favorite dogs was Grand Champion Art. He said he saw him go,
Mhm.
but down the line they didn't produce the same, so he went on to the Old Family Red stuff and wanted to try something different. But then he found out that cross worked really well, but he wanted something else that was similar to the Old Family Red. So he couldn't just keep inbreeding, so he started using the red boy, which that I think what was it for a stud or like a, a payment for breeding or something, where he ended up getting Gambler's mom or something like that. Uh, was it off of Marit Bud to Iron Ruby or something like that? Yeah, that's what it was.
Yeah, I think there
And
was.
then the what was those boys called? Those the Yankee boys had campaigned him, and then Narod got him back after he was campaigned.
That was a Gambler, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
after
I
his
never
fourth,
knew that gambler left the yard, but
yeah, yeah, it was the Yankee boys campaigned him, and then after his fourth win, he Narod wanted him back, and somehow he got him back and started using him to breed to his other blood, his personal stuff.
Yeah, there was two brothers. Okay.
Yeah,
So
Mike
Dan,
and Dan.
yeah, well, it was Dan that championed all those dogs out in the 70s, early 80s. And then those were the Ross Red Devil dogs.
Yeah,
Then Dan got out of the dogs, and then Mike took over the breeding part of it. And then they had the Iron Spike dog that did pretty good. He was an RON. But I
So who
think
was the one that caused more trouble? Which brother that caused more trouble? Because I'm hearing that one was a troublemaker versus the other one was kind of laid back. So who would you say that was more of started more trouble?
my experience was Mike was a little mouthy.
Yeah, he was the one. He was the shit talker.
Yeah. Dan, I think, was a solid dude. Everything I read about him. And he was actually the one who handled those dogs. But then he got out of the dogs for some reason. He just sort of quit, and Mike just took over the breeding program.
Yeah, yeah, they were iron workers. Yeah, can't remember why his brother got out. Somebody got sick or something like that.
Yeah, I don't know. That's just what I had heard.
Yeah, but
Then
Mike, man, oh man, he would talk big shit, man. I
oh
tell you,
yeah, yeah, Mike and I didn't get along.
a lot of people didn't get along with Mike, man.
I
Like,
had to I had to block him like 3 times. He'd come back with a different name.
oh
So
yeah.
I was like, I know that's Mike. Block.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was difficult. But
What's happening, everybody? How you doing?
What's
hey,
going on, schoolboy?
What's up? Welcome, everybody. What's the topic today?
Just the history of the Bulldogs and the breeders and just everything, man. Just the history.
Cool.
So,
Yeah.
so schoolboy, what's your take on the Red Boy family dogs? That's and the old family Red.
Well, it happens like this. Basically, you have a bloodline or a family of dogs, and it runs for a good while, and then other people take it and run with it. As far as the inbreeding part, regardless of what people think, you can't inbreed consistently for a long time. It just even if you're talking a couple of decades, if you keep doing it, it's going to ruin your dogs. That's been proven over and over. There's some dogs that take to inbreeding better, like the Red Boy dogs, and there's been inbred Red Boy dogs that were champions. But even those people that had it, Kaylee Marlowe and Bass and some other people understood, and Bailey and them understood that you have to throw crosses in there. And there's some people that keep a line pure and use it as a cross. And the reason that you do that is when you inbreed, you lock in traits. So those traits are there. And even if they turn kind of junk, when you outcross them, you can get something out of it. But there again, what do you do after that? If you go back to the inbred side, you're going to have junk again. So I'm a big proponent of line breeding, because with line breeding, you can go on almost indefinitely.
Right.
Which means you're going to have some inbreeding in there. You're going to have some crosses, but most of the dogs are going to be related. You can key on certain individuals. You can key on bloodlines. You can key on families. And if you look at all the top breeders in their heyday, they didn't inbreed that much. Speaking of Daibo dogs, Carver himself said you can't inbreed Daibo dogs. It don't work. And even though people inbred them after that, right? But him being the type of breeder he was, he wanted competition dogs, and he wanted to sell dogs used for competition. And it's hard to do that with inbred dogs. It's hard to sustain that over time, even with where you're making a bunch of outcrosses. This outcross and that outcross, throw this blood on top of that blood and this and that. You can do it for a while, but you keep doing it repeatedly over and over, you lose it. When you outcross that many times, the gene pool is so broad, you don't know where it's coming from. What are you keen on? And, you hear people in other countries doing it and other people doing it, and they have success in the beginning. And then it kind of fades out after that until they establish a foundation and they key on certain individuals or certain bloodlines. That's across the board. Don't matter if it's dogs, chickens, horses, hound dogs, whatever it is. And so, you talk about all these bloodlines. Well, where are they? Who has them? You might have some guys here and there say, I got it tight and it's working. But saying it and proving it are two different things. And,
So
and
your
people
opinion,
have a test.
so in your opinion that the type bred, inbred red boy dogs of today has not still to this day proven that they can be inbred and still be a performance line right now.
Well, I'm not familiar with them, but I would say no. And the reason I would say no, because the people that originally had it put outcrosses in it. Why were they outcrossing it? Why did they put Jeep blood into it? Katie Marlowe did that with two of her females. Why did they add Paladin to it? Lapase blood to it. I know a guy in Mexico inbred his bully son dogs, Eli dogs, if you want to call them, for 25 years. And throughout all that time, he got good individuals, but he was very selective and he called hard, but he didn't get a lot of them. And eventually it all went to shit. And even when he added crosses, it worked, but then he lost the other side, they're junk.
So here's a question on the pure red boys today. They're not pure red boy. They've been crossed. What is the most common cross in these dogs today?
Well,
That I couldn't tell you, but
there are some still heavy Marlowe dogs out here right now. They ain't gone. There are some. Well, we'll just stay with that one. So we'll stay with that one.
Okay, so the heavy Marlowe dogs, they're pretty much what red boy bred on Ross Red Devil dogs.
No, they heavy bred red boy dogs coming out of with heavy influence through Brandy. As we know, Brandy was a double bred, cut bullet bred bitch. But Bobby Holland, which he got the dogs through family and friends, he kept that line preserved, selective breeding, and those standards that Katie had even in the early 70s and 80s and on, watch it say 80s and on, those dogs still show those same traits. Even though they say Holland from Bobby Holland, but they still have the old Katie Marlowe traits: big bone structure, big in size, durable, have a lot of the attributes that family of dogs was known for. So no, they ain't gone, and they still are at that high performance vigor. So that's where I'm coming from.
So yeah, and I guess that was my question. Are they still inbred or are they just line bred now?
No, they still inbred.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Bobby Holland did not add. Well, he had some that he added, but his ones that he kept that strand, the Marlowe family strand, he did not add nothing more than what was already in there, coming down from the Marlowe strand that we're talking about right now. But he did have some that he did add a little G to. I think that was something he added a little Red Boy G Rascal to. But the majority of them that he kept, and some that he wouldn't sell you none off of them, and King Benny being one of them.
Yep, King Benny.
King Benny was King Benny, and then K2 come down out of
They
King Benny.
they real heavy King Benny. I seen King Benny, filling up the whole fourth pedigree.
And that's because that became one of Bobby Holland's favorite dogs. That's why. If you got something down from King Benny, you got a real representation of what the Katie Marlowe's family of dogs was about. You got an opportunity to really see her hard work and dedication to the family of what she built.
Yeah, that's definitely that bingo dog's heavy on the King Benny stuff, you know. That's a good strain. You know, like I said, I don't really worry about all the off the field issues and stuff, you know what I'm saying? That people got and everything, man. But you know, it's a good strain of dogs. One thing I like about them is they've been able to keep their bone density regardless of all the heavy inbreeding and you know different things. I mean, we like to think that people are keeping the breed, you know, the quality of dogs, you know, at least prioritizing that high on the list. You know, I mean, there's other crosses you can do, and that will kind of create your line. You know, there's a lot of dog men that use two or three different lines, and you know, they kind of compile it together, and then pretty soon, that's just their family. That's how they're the majority of the dogs. When you crack the pedigree open, you see those three or four ingredients in there, and that it kind of formulates your dogs. And then nowadays we talk about peer boils, and you know, people they talk about that, but it had to start somewhere. It wasn't just him taking, let's just say, the Hank dogs alone and just running those into the ground. You know, he had to incorporate other blood in order to get a finished product that's able to stand, you know, the test of time. You know, time's a mug. You know, these bloodlines, one day they're here, next day they're gone. You know, we see that a lot. You know, so no matter what it is, you know, if you're still here and we still talking about you in this day and age, I mean, there's been a hell of a lot of resilience that had to go on, and you know, just luck. You know, a lot of it's luck. You know.
Yeah, I was talking to David Devine one time, and he told me they inbred the Cassius Clay, and they had Cassius Clay and Patty, who was Art's sister. And that stuff. When they inbred them, they didn't come out thin bone and all. They came out thicker and bigger, stronger. So it can have that effect too, you know.
Do you see that with the Bullison dogs today? They're getting like shorter and stockier.
Well, they always been like that. The original crosses, that's how they came out. So they're just if they're still like that, it's because you know from the past that's the way they came out. So it's something that's in them. It's the Long's Baby and Long's Tuffy crosses, and they use those in Mexico too. And they also use Long's Baby and Long's Tuffy brother Red Buck, and they had another brother too. I forget his name.
You talking about that Cardino board?
No.
No. He on something different. Okay, so
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought it up, Mr. Garcia, because you know there were some conversations that were said that. Do I want to say this? Do I want to start this today? Okay, so there
Of
were
course we do.
conversations that there were more siblings outside of the ones you named that had said that Midnight Cowboy was one of them. Have you heard that story?
Midnight Cowboy, he's a son of Long's Baby, not a sibling.
Okay, I'll leave it
There's one in Mexico. I forget his name. That's one. Mexico also had a dog named Red Buck. That's another one. Long's Baby and Long's Tuffy are from that same litter, and so were Hyde Satchmo and Hyde Satchmo Bully.
Satchmo. That's what I apologize.
Yeah.
I do apologize. Satchmo.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So we all know. When I let me rephrase that, many of us know how Ronnie Howard respected Dad. That he was very strong. That he will give you a dog, but not give you the recipe. Okay, so with that being said, is it safe to say the same high stats is the same as the dog Satchmo? Can we
No,
say that today?
no. There's two of them. Satchmo was one, and Satchmo Bully is another one. I have pictures of them.
So
One of
the
them is
one that
one of them's a dark brindle, the other's a light brindle. And I think what happened is they matched one of those brothers and the red buck dog, their other brother, in Mexico. Satchmo or Satchmo Bully lost. Red buck won. So I'm thinking when he lost, he died. But they still had the other one. They still had Satchmo Bully. So people
see, we gonna have to
get it
we're
mixed
gonna
up,
talk about
thinking
we're gonna talk about this
they're the
on the back.
same
So he
dog.
didn't he didn't nope he didn't die. But we'll have to talk about this on the back street because this ain't for everybody to know.
What I'm saying, wait. What I'm saying is there's two brothers, Satchmo and Satchmo Bully. One of them died, so only Satchmo Bully lived. That's why you don't see Satchmo in there. You see Satchmo Bully. And like I
Yeah,
said,
this
I have pictures of both of them. They're two different dogs. They're brothers. One of them's a light brindle, and the other's a dark brindle. So you don't see the light brindle one anywhere. You see the one that lived. It's just like Hyde said that Hyde's Meanie and Hyde's Tana, rather than being mother and daughter, they're the same female,
correct,
right? I don't know.
correct,
If Hyde was funny with his papers, he was Carver's protege.
correct.
So it makes
That's
sense that he did the same thing, you know.
yeah. He admitted that stature mode and what you just said about the females to somebody else. So again,
Yeah,
we'll have to continue this
yeah,
off the back street because
yeah,
this ain't.
yeah,
I'm not trying to start no rumors.
yeah.
I ain't
And
ruffling no
I
feathers.
have pictures of Meanie and Tana. I can't tell if they're two different dogs or the same dog. They look real similar.
Mhm.
So it could be that they're the same dog. But the the Satchmo and all them, Red Buck and all them being off of Ironhead, that's not the original pedigree that I have. And they were even
Right.
registered. They were even registered. The ADBA, I don't know what happened, but in the past when they registered them, they registered them out of Hunter's Sam and Hunter's Tana,
Yep. You are
right?
correct. Yep.
Okay, later on, if you were to get a pedigree now, it's going to be Ironhead and not Hunter Sam. I don't know. I don't know what happened with that. And the reason I believe the original one is because Satchmo Bully, all them long baby Tuffy, they look like Sam. They don't look like Ironhead. They're built the same way. He was brindle. They were brindle. They even had the same ear cut. They look like staffs, is what they look like. And they're short, squatty dogs like that. That's where that short, squatty stuff comes from. When you see the Bully Son dog, Bully Son and them weren't short and squatty; they were tall and long. But when they bred them to those females, or the males to other Eli females, they come out short and squatty.
So that blood, that hunter's blood over in Mexico, whatever happened to that blood? I mean, I know a little bit, but
Well, it's still there's remnants of it, that people have it,
yeah, I mean,
but
I got some
it's
very good hunter. I got a lot of the buck, but
yeah,
I'm talking like the
yeah,
other ones that we're talking about now.
yeah. Well, they're there. It's just they're way back. For instance, back in the day, I went to Mexico convention and I
Mhm.
saw two dogs. Right, they won. They looked like that stuff. They fought like that. One won in 17 minutes, the other one in 20 minutes. They look like Midnight Cowboy or Hall Stomper, except
Right.
one was red nose and the other was brindle. Looked just like Midnight Cowboy, except their color was different. And they were down from that blood. So you can still find remnants of it.
So if someone had a heavily influenced hunter's buck presence and they were able to cross some of the heavy Midnight Cowboy, is it possible that they could lock in and get those recessive traits from the gene?
Yeah. Not just the Midnight Cowboy. They do it with the Cardenas stuff. You could do it with the Diaz stuff, the Rodriguez.
Well, a lot of that again. See, a lot of guys, you're talking. You spend a lot of money to get that because we're talking like all those footprints are overseas, even in Mexico. So I mean, we're talking. You got to spend a lot of money to get that. It's just not privileged over in the States as it is over in Mexico, like the way you're describing it. So that's kind of why I asked that question.
You'd have to go down there, and that's what would cost you. For example, I seen dogs. Let's say a grown dog here, ready to go. Like what would the price be? Say like 10 years ago for a match ready dog. Yeah, in the United States.
About $2,000, about $2,000, 2,500.
Okay, you could get those dogs down there for $500.
Damn.
And sadly, he's not lying. But again, you have to know somebody that can get you.
You got to know somebody.
Because again, over there it's a lot different.
Yeah.
It's the economy because they don't know you. I mean, the stories that happen in the States, they happen over there also. Right. Yeah, we gotta tell that.
Yeah, you could go to a convention down there and buy a dog on the spot, or talk to somebody there and say, "Hey, I want a grown dog," and they'll take you to their house. This is what I got. Buy the dog.
Well, I will say this: if you knew someone and you were shown and proven that you were a stand-up person, they would invite you into their yard and into their family as if you were like family. So
it would generally be who you went with. If they don't know you, it's who are you with. So you have somebody vouch for you. Yeah. I had a friend of mine go down there. He bought two littermates, a male and female, for $100 each, because he went with some people that vouched for him.
And that's the key over there. You have to have someone with reputable knowing the vouch for you.
Yeah. And the one grown dog I seen, the guy paid $500. He really didn't want to sell it, but his wife was there and she said, "Hey, we need the money. Sell that dog." He had two other littermates. He had never been shown, but his sisters, both of them, had won twice. So she just basically made him do it. Sell them dog. We need the money, like that. So he did.
Damn. Woo.
Got to keep the wife happy, I guess.
Oh, they run it over there. Yeah.
Happy wife, happy life.
Yeah.
That's allegedly.
Yeah. Allegedly, yeah.
Oh no, they'll tell you over there. Oh no. My wife said we need money. We sell dogs. They know they don't hide it over there. No, they don't.
Well, she was there. Yeah, she was there when the guy was asking, when my friend was asking for the dog, and he's going, nah, and she like, hey, sell him the dog. We need the money. Jabbed him in the ribs. Sell that dog. We got more. Shit. So you can, like I said, I've known people that have inbred for generations and every which way you can, but eventually you have to add a cross, man. You just can't. That's the way nature works. They can say I got it pure, and for all intents and purposes, it's as pure as you can get it. But there'll be some crosses in there.
Okay, so then and I'm not asking you to give the source, but kind of elaborate on why Mr. Morphine was able to take his family and go as long as he went without having to add a cross to it.
Well, he did add crosses.
Yeah, but he didn't
He
start
did.
out adding crosses. He added that later though.
Well,
Because if you go ahead.
when later? Because he used the booger blood back in the day. He had the Stu Fowler Red Lady. That was basically the foundation.
Or
He
Right.
added
So I
the
he
mean, he
added
started out with a good
South,
cross. I'm not
South
saying
Coast Booger.
pure, but
yeah he
I'm just
added
saying he was able to take the Fondell Booger, which is a Maloney, and cross it into the Red Baby, which is and whole
the
family of
the
Crenshaw,
Stu Fowler
and he
Red
was
Lady. Yeah,
right. So he was able
yeah,
to take that family across and go a quite a few generations before you started to see him add some of the Cardenas Shorty,
yeah,
some of
yeah.
the
Well,
the, the
even
other
even before
Cardenas.
that, he added Bully Son. He added Eli Jr.
Right.
But he tried to keep the Stu Fowler Red Lady as straight as he could, and that's what some people do. I'm not saying that you can't do it, but you can't expect after so many generations to have a lot of competition worthy dogs. And
Right.
I've seen some straight Gardenas, right? They were basically game plugs. They could
Now,
win,
why
but if
you
you
gotta
put the
go
shit,
there? You know I can't say you ain't lying because you really ain't lying. But why you got to
yeah,
call
well,
them game
that's
plugs?
anything. That's anything. You can have some outstanding inbred red boy dogs, but you're going to have a lot of game plugs. You could have some hard biting inbred red boy dogs, but you're going to have a lot of game plugs. And my point has always been you don't have to do that to keep your shit pure and to have a lot of competition dogs. It's not necessary. It just people get hung up on purity, and
Right.
That's
there's a
right.
term that some old guy used. They chase breed names,
Right.
meaning
Right.
it's Carver, pure this, pure that. I've never been that way because in that sense that doesn't matter.
Right.
What
You keeping
matters
the
is
best
the
interest of the
individual.
dog,
Yeah, you
the
want a
best
good,
interest of the
solid, healthy
individual.
dog, right? Athletic, able to
The
win,
man creates the bloodline. The bloodline doesn't create the man. I believe that.
and like I said before, that you're right. Like I said before, all these guys we talk about, whether it's Morphine, whether it's Carver, Tudor, Heinzel, Sorrels, you name it, they use several bloodlines to create their family of dogs. They have a foundation, something they like. Same thing with Indian Sunny. They but they have to add stuff to it. And when you add stuff to it, it allows you to go back to your foundation. So it's not too inbred. So it's basically that's your foundation. You're gonna see that just like Dirty Mary. You're gonna see her through all the peds. You go back, she's all over the place. But what is she bred to? Cherokee Chief, Euler Jr., Bobby Jr., Raymond's Dutch Boy Jr.
hmm
They did the same thing with Boleo. What is Boleo? It's you could have straight Boleo, you have straight Boleo and other Carver stuff like the Billy and you have the Klaus, you have the Ed Crenshaw stuff in there. Grand Champion Hope and the Catfish,
So let me ask you this
Tombstone
real quick.
Red Baby. Tombstone Red Baby.
I don't want to change the subject, but do you think the okay? Do you think Bolio's half brother that was bred back to his mother, that is the backbone of the Greenwood family of dogs, and also contributed to the Ollie Steven line? I forgot his name. That's why I can't call his name. Do you think he
Who,
was
Bull?
Bull? There
Bull or
you go, Bull.
Camino?
No, Bull.
Camino. Okay.
Was Camino? Okay, yeah. So do you
No, no,
think he
no.
was
They're brother. They're brother. There's Bull and Camino. They're brother.
okay? So do you think either one of them were as a great of a producer like Bolio was?
Well, according to Soros, they were. He's in all his pedigrees. It just he wasn't offered at stud like Bolio, like a lot of other dogs were. Bolio wasn't offered at stud. It's just they bred him a lot, and it didn't come out till later. So I don't know which ones are off Bolio and which ones ain't.
Mm.
It's
Which one?
all a mystery.
Which
And
one we talk about, Magic?
Bull, the Bull that's Bull, which is half brother to Bolio, but see,
Oh, okay,
Bull was
so
oh yeah,
bred back to Zeke.
well, I mean,
He no, I'm sorry, he
if you
was.
look at it, Bert Sorrell had just as much success as anybody else in the game. You
Oh
know,
yeah, but see, Bursorell was headstrong that he didn't tell you all of the other families because he wanted to stay Sorrell and not anybody else's name. We'll just say anybody else's name. So even though you see some of the ones that he crossed to, there are many others that you don't see. And for a lot of guys that understand traits, that's the only way you'll know that family has those traits is by you really understanding. I just throw it out there. So it's now privy that there are a heavily influence of boomerang in a latter part of the Sorrell family that Burke did not paper, and he done
mm,
that of his own doing because he did not want to show Boomerang being heavily influenced as they were in his family of dogs. But if you were to actually have separate Sorrel and Boomerang and you spent time with them, you could actually see a lot of similarities that you would be asking yourself, well, why are they showing a lot of the same attributes when there is not a heavier footprint, no more than Miss Boomer that's well allowed to be shown in the pedigree, but it's more than what's in the pedigree.
so again, when you're talking about, you see all these inbred pedigrees, right? Do you really believe they're inbred? Do you really
Half brother,
believe
half
all them
sister.
inbred? Do you really believe all them inbred Cardenas dogs are inbred Cardenas?
Well, now
mm,
a lot of it in the beginning were, but you got to remember he
uh,
started
Yeah,
adding.
yeah,
He started adding some of the Jocko. When I talked about that before, when he added
yeah. He
Zeke,
had a
and then
red
he
boy.
also added. He
Yeah,
also added. He also when he sat down with Mr. Morphin, they exchanged ideals, and he started influencing heavier of the morphine. But in the beginning, when you talked about a game plug, that was the family that you was referencing because it had been bred so tight. So now
yeah.
I'll just reference King. King was the exception to the rule of the game plug. Okay, but then King was like what in that line you would call a freak because she was bred tight heavily off the T bud. He just was the exception to the rule of when you breed that type, they become brood and some will say they game plugs. But Mr. Cardenas, he did start to add different strands like what you just expanded on.
Yeah, let
But
me let
yes,
me let me let me say this, and I'm not. This is not a knock on anybody, right? But this is what I've seen done in the past. So I'm not going to name anybody's names. You have your family of dogs. You add crosses to it, right? Let's say you add Jeep. You add Jeep to Eli. Your foundation is Eli. You add Jeep to it. People know you did it. You have dogs that come out looking like Jeep. You have dogs that come out looking like Eli Jeep together. And you might have some that come out looking pure Eli, even though they're crossed. They're taken after the Eli side. What these guys would do with those dogs is change the papers and make them pure Eli, even though they're crossed. That's how you get a lot of these pure dogs And how you know this is they take that, what's supposed to be a pure Eli dog, even though it's crossed, the papers say it's pure, and they breed it to their Eli stuff, and they get a dog that looks like Jeep or has the Jeep build. And people say, how did that happen? Well, there's buckskin dogs in the back. There's different build dogs in the back. But what I'm saying is that that's what they did. And you know, if you want to say Carver did it, yeah, that's what he did. The reason I can bring up Carver, because he said he did it anyways. So you see, people will look at the Carver dogs and they have the widow's peak and the black on their tail. That's an ironhead dog. That's an ironhead dog. It's really ironhead, really iron. No, it's not. Or it don't have to be. It could be a pistol dog. It could be a Zeke dog. It could be a cracker dog. Because they all throw that widow's peak and black on their tail. It's not just ironhead. But knowing Carver, he tells you how he bred. He likes loose line breeding. So if you keep that in mind, that's how he bred going forward. Add different stuff and go back to his shit. Add something, go back. Whether it was Crenshaw stuff, he added to his Kobe Leitner stuff. And then later on, he added some Zeke stuff. And then later on, he added Bully Son and Eli Jr., Art Smithy, Boomerang, you know, sister. That's what people do. Because in their mind, you know, you want a pure dog? I got one. That's the funny thing about breeding. You could do that. Because they're sometimes they take after one side, sometimes they take after the other side, sometimes they take after both sides. So if you want to hang a paper on a cross dog and it looks like a pure side of the blood, you can do that. But what happens, like I said, in the next generation, they breed it and it don't look pure no more. At least one or two of the pups look different than they should.
Right.
So me, knowing all this and going through all that, I didn't give a shit. If I like the person's dog, I'm going to get it. Whatever it is, I don't care. I saw it go, I'm going to breed to it. Or I seen his dogs, I like his pup, and I'm going to take a chance. And if I use it in my stuff, I'm going to breed it my way. And I'm going to follow the traits. And eventually, at some point, they're going to look like my dogs and they're going to perform like my dogs. And so I don't really care about the ped that way. I wish everybody would keep them straight. I kept mine straight and other people kept theirs straight and like that. But a lot of them didn't. So you just have to, it's almost like you can't care. Who gives a shit what they did? You do your thing. You make it work the way you want. Make the dogs how you want. If you don't like them, don't breed them. If you do, breed them. There's so many, you know, one person told me, well, Boomerang, a couple of things. Boomerang's off of, I've said this before, he's off of Boomerang's brother, or he's off of Bolillo's brother, Goras. He was in Mexico. And I tell him that can't be, because the Bolillo litter, Bolillo, Mendocino, Goras, was born the same year that Boomerang was born. They're the same age. He couldn't be the father. And then another guy told me, you know, Stu Fowler and Red Lady, right? Stu Fowler is really Boomerang's sire. Okay, that's possible. But Stu Fowler's pedigree ain't right either. He ain't really bred that way either. So what the hell does it matter, you know? Okay, he's Boomerang's sire, but behind that, it's not correct either, you know? According to Leo Kennard, anyways, you know?
All right, you got to give it up, Mr. C. You got to give it up. I definitely, I ain't heard that one yet.
Okay.
So
yeah,
go ahead.
Stu Fowler, shit, I have it written down. Stu Fowler is really off of, Gimp. They called him Kennard's Gimp, but it would be, Crenshaw's Gimp.
Okay, because Crenshaw said in an interview that he bought Gimp later. So is that right or that's not? But he was real high on Gimp though. He felt
Yeah,
that
well,
Gimp
but
was better than.
Gimp is his breeding. So maybe Kennard bought him when he was young or something, and maybe Crenshaw got him back. But Kennard used him, and Freddie Jones used Gimp. He was like a 6-time winner.
Right.
So if you pull up Stu Fowler's breeding, it'll say something else, but he's supposed to be really off of Gimp. Which, they all look the same, so why not? And, I go back and I read all these articles and I read the matches and this and that. Some of the dogs that are held in high regard, not all of them, not a lot of them, but some of them, they quit. And some of them quit more than once.
Yeah.
And it's there for you to read. You just look up Reno's matches. He lost twice. He quit the second time.
Yeah, but you wouldn't say them guys was untruthful about the reason why he lost through the seizures, because I mean they said that Reno continued his career.
I wasn't there. But if you read the I wasn't there. But if you read the report, he's screaming and crying and hollering, trying to jump out. I don't know if a seizure would cause that. Maybe it did. I don't know.
Oh yeah, I did hear about yeah, he was having seizures, man.
I don't know.
But then when they brought him down to his correct body, structure, his performance was like night and day.
Well,
So,
he won 2 and then he lost 2 after that. So when he lost, maybe the first time maybe he wasn't right. They thought they could do him right. Well, the second time he lost worse than the first time.
Yeah, but if you go back and look at the reports, those 2 he lost, they were at least 3 pounds heavier than what his prior ones were.
I'll check.
That's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. It could be, and the reason I'm saying that is because that happened with a lot of dogs. And not saying that they denied it back then. It's there for anybody to read. And not saying that they didn't breed those dogs. They did. But when you get the farther away you get from the actual what happened, people embellish stuff and they change the stories, and somebody says this and somebody says that, and they make you believe that these were great dogs. I've seen a lot of dogs that people now say, man, that was a badass dog. It's just average. The dog wasn't that good. And that's just, and at the time, nobody ever said that's a badass dog and he's a killer and all this shit. They were honest that way. But now, after 20, 30 years, now he's a fucking killer, man. No, dude. I don't know.
Now, legend has it that he's a monster, huh?
Yeah, like that. I had a show at my house one time. It was 2 little black dogs. They were in their high 30s, and they were going at it stifle to stifle. And they were average, a little above average. And Pat Gomez was at the show there with me, and we're standing there talking, and he had seen, Benny Bob and Jimmy Boots. He'd seen Bully Son and Benny Bob. So we're standing there, and he says, "Hey, schoolboy, you go see them 2 dogs right there?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "That's about how Benny Bob and Bully Son was." I said, "Really, like that?" Yeah. It wasn't, what people say and write about. That was his opinion. Maybe but he wasn't against the Eli dogs. He used them.
Yeah, I saw a video of Stone City's Nico. He wasn't spectacular.
And I'm sure some people living today, they would say the same thing about my dogs. Yeah, they were average. That's people's opinion. I've never said I had killer this and that. It's just, So people sometimes they like to embellish the past because it gives it more validity. But
But
if you
now
if you
I will say that the video of Tornado, yeah, that she pretty much lived up to the hype.
what I seen, yeah, I seen her
Yeah,
win in 17 minutes on video.
yeah.
She was a monster.
And
She was. I seen Grand
uh,
Champion Rodney, a good dog. I seen Banjo, good dog.
I didn't see Banjo, but I saw Luther. Luther, he was game, but that's about it.
Yeah, yeah. Nothing wrong with that. If you saw the straight, quote unquote, pure white dogs, a lot of them people wouldn't like them because they'll fuss around, they'll grab pinch of skin, and they growl and shit, and then they come on later. And there's some I seen pure that they could do everything, and the cross ones were real good, but a lot of people they just wouldn't like them. It's not their type of dog.
So do you
So
think
the
Tornado?
dog didn't quit, and they could bite hard at the end. They would put it to you and finish you. But in the beginning, man, they just you know,
And Bad Rosemary, she had mouth, but she was slow as hell.
yeah,
So do you think
yeah.
Tornado lives up to everything they said about her?
Yeah, I saw the
I
video.
think so. I don't care what dog it is. If they can win 10 against 10 greyhounds, man, they're pretty tough.
What
That's
about
almost
Shady Lady?
that, well, I heard the same thing. She was violent, just violent. You know. So it depends. There's a lot of factors. I've seen dogs look great, and then the next time just look average, and it had to do with the opponent. It had to do with their conditioning too.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah,
That don't take away from the dog because he didn't quit. He had to show heart because he was a killer, but he just wasn't right. And the opponent they had on him was a smart muzzle and head dog, and just the dog couldn't get to him. When he finally got to him, he made the dog quit, but he just looked average at that point. But I had seen him before, so you know I could judge between the two matches where he was right and sharp and had everything to where he was off, didn't look good, wasn't healthy, but he didn't quit. He still won.
Didn't they
I've seen
breed?
that.
Did, speaking of, didn't they breed Zebo to both Honey Bunch and Tornado?
The one
I,
at Honey
I
Bun
don't
they
think
said
the
produced all curves.
I don't think the tornado, the ones with honey bunch, I don't think there were any dogs of note, but they did breed some of them.
Yeah, yeah, but they didn't really produce nothing.
Yeah, I don't think it did. I just think, in my opinion, they were too old, or it just didn't click. It didn't work, which happens.
Yeah, from what I understand is they didn't really know how Zebo was really bred.
That's what they said. They think he's off of Eli. Yeah, Eli. To me, from what I seen, the Zebo dogs I seen, and Zebo himself and his ancestors, he looks like Mike and Andy and all. They built the same way, got the same ears, the same head, short muzzle, stocky. He don't look like a Eli dog. So I would go with the pedigree he has. And some people, even people that own Eli dogs, think that he's off of Eli because Eli was stolen. So they think he's one of his offspring after he was stolen. I don't know. It could be, but to me, he don't look like that.
Oh, yeah.
He don't even fight like a Eli dog. He was mostly front end and shoulder. He never went to the stifle, as far as I heard. And if you got a bully son dog, a Eli dog, most of them they're going to go back there sometime. Some of them start there. Even Chinaman, that's where he went. Not that he wouldn't hit other places, but that's where he was going to get you. And that's just the way he was. Jocko the same way. Well, Jocko, badass stifle dog. So was his daddy. That's what his daddy did. So
What about
he passed
Snooty?
those. Well, people say Snooty quit and all this stuff. I haven't been able to find that. The one report for one of his losses doesn't say he quit. They were just, it was basically an off the chain roll that they reported. Just a couple of guys got together, talk shit, and they just threw them together.
Who was it that he supposedly quit to?
Rascal.
Rascal.
So the story went that
Oh yeah.
Rascal was shaped and it fell through. So he goes over to uh, the yard where Snooty was at. So they sitting around drinking a couple beers, and you know our conversation sparks up. So Rascal was already in the truck. So they take Rascal out the truck. Henceforth, you know, we're gonna find out because now we talking, you know, crap to each other. So supposedly that's who he quit to due to uh, the conversation that sparked that initial
Yeah,
situation that
in fact, Hyde was so disappointed, he just left him there. And it was actually Crenshaw's wife who doctored Snooty and kept him alive. And then Hyde
hmm
came back later and picked him up, took him home. But again, going by the report, it doesn't say he quit. And that could be it's like you hear, you know, Jeep tried to jump the pit against Homer, right? Nobody ever said that at the time. If you read the report, what happened is Crenshaw called him into a turn. He called him away. So when he called Jeep, he let go of Homer. They called a turn on Jeep. He was up to scratch. He scratched. A lot of times you see things you're not there in the middle. You can't hear what they're saying, or you don't know what happened. If you're looking or you're talking, and then you look, you go, "Hey, the dog let go and walked away. He wants to quit." Well, according to the report, he didn't walk away. Crenshaw told him to do that. So, like I said, things change over the years. If you read the reports, it's nothing but good for either dog. And when people knock dogs like that, my question is, how many dogs do you have or did you have in the past that beat 3 champions, went under the hour mark 2 times, went over the hour mark 2 times, over the 2 hour mark 2 times, and one of them went almost 4 hours? How many dogs you had like that? They want to knock Angus. He quit against Ruby and this. How many 6-time winners do you have? And according to the report, he quit to Ruby because he had bred her. He wanted a breeder because they had bred before. So he wasn't looking to fight her. Dogs will do that sometimes. But he won his final match after that incident. He
so
beat Bobby Love after that.
you think that's what happened to Angus?
I think that's what happened. It makes sense, especially if it's something you bred already. You're going to do it again. And sometimes the females don't care, you know. So that's the way I look at it. He didn't want to fight her. He wanted a breeder, so he wouldn't fight her. Because his last match is in 1980, and he was supposed to fight Jeep. That would have been in 1979. So he had one more match after that. But again, he beat one 1-time winner, 2 2-time winners, 2 4-time winners, and a 3-time winner. How many people have had dogs like that? And it's usually the ones that haven't had dogs like that are the biggest critics. They're the ones that talk shit. What the fuck have you done?
Right.
I'm just saying. If a dog quits, it quits, man. That's what it is. I never held it against them. It's not their fault. That's the way they were born. I didn't treat them cruel. I didn't talk, be mad at them, throw rocks. See people throw rocks at them and all kinds of shit. They're mad because the dog quit. Hey, man. What do you expect? Probably with an owner like you, any dog would quit. They don't like you.
That's the thing. I was talking about that the other day with a partner of mine, and he was like, "Man, a lot of people have done a lot of heinous things to their dogs because of their loss."
You got to have some decorum. If you say you love the dogs, we'll show it. Even if you call in dogs, Why you gotta hate them? Why you gotta be mad at them?
Just do it. And then if there's a such as now, some of those dogs, especially if he did, like, say if they just didn't want to go, you take them to school and they just don't want to go. Then that 9 times out of 10, that dog can be rehabilitated. Just get the dog spayed or neutered and go to a loving home. They can be rehabilitated to just be a loving house pet.
Well, there's several, and I know several, and there's more than the people that I know would never cull a dog. Mr. Bill never culled a dog. Killed them. Never. Didn't matter if they quit. Leo Kennard had over 600 dogs. 300 or 400 of them were pit bulls. He never killed a dog, ever. And he had the money to provide for the 600 freaking dogs. He loved dogs. He wasn't going to kill them. He let them live out their life.
Yeah, I mean, just think one day you don't want to fight, and somebody says, "Okay, I'll go ahead, put a gun to your head, and blow your brains out. You don't feel like fighting today."
I'm just saying, I just, I respect people like that. That's not the way I was, but I never had no hate for no dog. I never had no
not
disdain.
hate them. Yeah.
Or I had one kid tell me one time, he goes, I don't know if I could cull a dog. He goes, if I did, I'd have to be mad, like, you motherfucker, and this and that, and yell at him. I told the kid, don't ever cull a dog. You ain't built for it. Don't do it. Let him live. Leave him alone. Because that's kind of on the edge of being a psychopath, man.
Yeah.
And there's people that have exhibited that. They've done all kinds of cruel shit to put them down. And they're very few. It's not like there's a bunch of people and all pit bull people are like that. Most of them love their dogs. They ain't that way. But it's just, you have a bad apple in everything, and more than one. But the majority of pit bull people are not like that. It's like people who butcher animals. They don't have no feelings one way or the other for the animal. It's their job. That's what they got to do. If you start letting your feelings in, you're butchering hundreds of, if not thousands of cattle or pigs, whatever it is. If you don't have the right mindset, you shouldn't do it.
Yeah, but don't they put them to sleep before they, or don't they do something to knock them out before they butcher them? They don't just butcher them while they're alive, do they?
No, but they kill them while they're alive.
Oh, well, yeah, Well,
cattle, they have a nail gun. They walk down the chute. They pop them in the back of the head.
Well, we have to eat though.
Yeah, if you're gonna eat, you have to accept certain things. That's the way it is. Don't be a fucking hypocrite about it, though. Don't sit there and tell me, that this is cruel and that's cruel, and you're eating a steak or a hamburger, or even don't tell me you're a vegetarian and you don't kill animals. Bullshit. You kill more animals to feed you than they do people who eat meat. You got to kill millions of animals to grow crops.
Right.
It's always been that way. It's standard. You kill everything. Coyotes, rabbits, squirrels, bugs, birds. You can't have them, or you won't have a crop. You'll starve. You won't make no money. You'll die.
I believe in human rights over animal rights, though, any day.
Any day. I agree. So people should just accept certain things. That if you're going to do this, that's what has to be done. And you don't have to have no feelings about it one way or the other. The vegetarians, they don't get by on me. They're the biggest hypocrites, man. And I don't care if they're a vegetarian. If that's what they want to do, fine. But don't knock other people for what they eat.
Right.
You're going to go to some other country and tell people don't eat lizards and don't eat bats. How are you going to do that? That's what they eat.
Yeah.
Some people eat dogs. I wouldn't eat a dog. Never. Unless I was starving. But I wouldn't do it just to try it. Nah. It don't sit right with me because I love dogs. But other people that eat them, hey, it's food to them.
Right.
So pit bull people, as much as people think that they're cruel, there's a lot of them that they just they won't call nothing. They spay or neuter, or they just keep them. They can afford to keep them, and most of them, in my day, they weren't violent with them. A lot of them, because of the drugs they have, they just put them to sleep. Takes about 7 seconds. Just because of the people they know, they can get the euthanasia and administer it. Simple. You wouldn't believe how cruel the people in the dog pound, how they are. I had a friend who worked for the local dog pound. He couldn't take it anymore. He had to quit because how many dogs they killed, puppies and shit.
Yeah, and they say they say, oh well, we're doing it humane. Like what's the difference, man? If somebody like if they say, oh, it's inhumane because they talk about how they have those dog fighting specials. They say, well, they electrocuted the dog and they didn't see it coming. They just died. Aren't you doing the same thing when you stick the needle in their arm and then they all of a sudden start falling asleep? They're not going to come back. Same thing, right? Like yeah,
Exactly.
a lot of those
Exactly right.
those
Humane
animal
to
rights
who?
people, they're hypocrites themselves because they'll put down dogs, no problem. But yet
Well,
but they're
most of them
they
have
you
a
better make
3 day
sure
period.
your dog food bowl is full and your water bowl and all this crazy shit. But yet they don't have a problem putting your dog down and sticking a needle in his arm.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, now that's what they do. Before they put them in a chamber and sucked all the air out.
Oh shit, that's worse.
It's worse. So when they say humane, humane to who?
Yeah,
It's how
humane
it
to
looks
who?
to us. It
Yeah,
ain't humane to the animal. No matter how you do it, it's just how it appears to us. Oh, we put them to sleep. You mean you put them in a chamber, you suck all the fucking air out, so they can't breathe. They're panicking. They can't do nothing about
right.
Yeah,
it. They're
that's
piled.
fucked
They're
up.
Yeah,
they're
that's
piled up
worse.
on top of each other, and
Just
you
thinking
call
about
that
that.
fucking
I mean,
humane?
damn.
Yeah, that's
I'm
fucked
just
up.
saying. They had a hookup for puppies. It was either 8, 10, however many puppies, and they'd hit them in the vein and shoot the euthanasia and hit all 8 of them at the same time. Tiny fucking puppies, man. They weren't farming out nothing. They weren't rescuing shit.
Right.
They still don't.
Exactly. Exactly. And so, but you know what? They're good at like the ASPCA and all that. They're real good at how they market their shit. They have these videos of these dogs in snow and all this bullshit. But it'll be nice for some people to fight back and to show videos of what they do. Like, yeah, this is exactly what they do when they call themselves putting the dog down in a humane way. Yeah, it's not humane. This is exactly what they do. And this is what they've done in the past. And explain what you just explained. Yeah. See, there's people that need to be able to vocalize that. I think that's the reason why they haven't been able to eradicate the pit bull terrier as a breed anyway, because there's so many people have shown them in a positive light, and there's a lot of people that actually love their pit bulls. You know,
Yeah, and you do have celebrities and sports figures that have the breed, so they voice their opinion about it. This is not a cruel dog and like that. So it's a fight back and forth all the time.
and the thing
It
that gives
just
them a bad
I don't
name is
like.
all these mastiff mixes. Mastiffs
Yeah,
were bred, for the guarding and the human aggressiveness and things. So if you take a pit bull and you breed them with a mastiff and some other dog, and there's a standard. Well, once they get, I think, what is it, past 80 or 90 pounds, they're not. That's not a pit bull. That's something else.
yeah. Most of them, if they're that big, there's been some. They're rare that have been that big, but most of
Rare,
them they're
right?
mixed.
Yeah,
They're mixed
but
when
I'm
they do
talking
that.
about these big bullies, these big old 120-pound, big old massive bullies that the damn near the size of
Yeah,
hippos.
yeah. And then some other breeds, whether it's a Doggo Argentino or Cane Corso or
Right.
something like that, they call them pit bulls. They're not pit
Yeah,
bulls.
they'll call them a pit
It's just
bull.
yeah, yeah. So I guess getting on here and talking about it, that might help, because I've changed. Even my own friends and their kids and some of my relatives changed their mind about pit bulls just by bringing them over my house and let them run through my yard and go to my dogs. And they heard the stories even back then. Oh, they're mean and this. And then they go away thinking, I petted all them dogs. My kids played with them. They didn't hurt nothing. They didn't do nothing. And they knew what I was doing with my dogs.
It's funny how
It changed.
they don't report those Labradors and those German Shepherds that go and attack. They do not want to report those dogs for some reason.
Well, once the focus changed from a German Shepherd or Rottweiler or a Doberman Pinscher, once it changed from those dogs to the pit bull, they just went full bore with pit bull.
Right, they just went full on with the pit.
Yeah, and just totally ignored the other ones because they wanted to do the same thing with back in the day with Rottweilers and German Shepherds. They wanted to get rid of them because they're attack dogs. You know, they're mean and all that. But that focus left from that to the pit bulls, and then now it's just all pit bull. And part of it is sometimes it's the owner's fault too. When you have your pit bull staff, whatever it is, running loose and not contained and not managed, you know, then they put everybody in the same, under the same blanket. They're all the same. They're all like that. They all bite.
What they use to try to make the pit bull so scary is that the whole lockjaw thing. Oh, their jaws lock and they won't let go.
Yeah.
Man, if a dog is on your ass, it don't matter what kind of dog it is. If they're on you, they're gonna hold on to you and they're gonna tear your ass up.
Yeah.
I mean,
They don't let go because they don't want to. If they want to let go, they let go. There's no locking, and that struck me as real weird back then.
Yeah, they used to say, "Oh, their dogs, they're incapable of unlocking their jaws."
Well, they got to demonize the dog first. If they demonize it first, then it'll justify them trying to get rid of the dog. So
exactly.
You get all the stereotypes and all of this, because when I not the first time I saw a pit, but you know, I finally was of age and saw what a real one was. You know, I was like, really? You know, it was a little dog, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, now that I look back, you know, it probably had a decent conformation, looked pretty strong little dog, but I didn't see this big monster like they portrayed in the media, you know. So it's the propaganda, man.
And they criticize us for how we keep our dogs. If you go to any ASPCA or any dog pound, how do they keep them? In a little bitty cell or a sky kennel type size kennel. They stack them on each other. They're shitting and pissing all in that area. They clean them maybe twice a day, feed them whatever. They ain't taking better care of them than we do.
See, the people have to be more educated when it comes to the pit bull dog. For instance, like, you know, there's an age, there's a time where a pit bull can act like a puppy for a long time, and then all of a sudden they turn on. Now, those that don't understand how the pit bull, how they operate and how they can click and turn on, they say it just turns on you out the blue, and all of a sudden they're mean. They don't understand the process. They're uneducated, so they don't know.
Yeah.
You know. Yeah.
And before people used to understand that. It wasn't a thing back in the day, in the early, 1900s.
Yeah.
When you have celebrities and you have sports figures and you have clergy and you have people in government and you have judges and lawyers and writers all having pit bulls, all being involved with pit bulls, even going to the matches. Were they twisted people too back then? Were they sick in the head? Were they cruel?
Right.
These are celebrated people. One of the pit bull enthusiasts was Nellie Bly. She's a very famous author. She used to go to the matches. She wrote about John L. Sullivan training. She did a thing where she went into a mental hospital and saw how they were being treated and wrote about it, how they were being mistreated in a mental hospital, and it got some laws changed about how you take care of mental patients. She wasn't a sick person. She wasn't a psychopath. She loved pit bulls.
And speaking of
And
pit
you had,
bulls, and Ben being so vicious, what wasn't the Little Rascals that show? Didn't they have a pit bull?
yeah, it was a Kobe dog, Kobe
Yeah,
bred dog. It wasn't bred by Kobe. Well, there were a couple of them. Yeah, I forget the breeding on him, but yeah, he was a pit bull. And if you notice in some of the episodes, he can be around dogs, right?
right,
But in some of them, he starts getting bowed up, right? And the little kids are the ones that pull him back and make him behave. They stop him from fighting. And little kids weren't afraid of him. And
right.
and
That's the point.
you catch glimpses of it here and there. He's chasing a cat or another dog comes by. He kind of gets bowed up and he wants to hit it, and the kid just grab him, pull on his collar and his leash, and stop him, and the dog behaves. So
Exactly.
he didn't turn on them kids and bite them.
Sure didn't.
I seen old movies with they were Great Danes, and they're chasing these people. They're tracking these people, and the people go up a tree, so they start jumping on the tree. Well, they get all excited and they start fighting each other, and they cut the film. They cut the film away. Right when they start going at it, there's a cut in the film. So even them Great Danes got bowed up and started fighting. It was acceptable. Is my point. It was not a big deal. They separate them, do another take, and then you got your movie. You know.
Yeah, yeah. It's all about the perception, and if they can control the perception in the minds of the people, then you know
Yeah.
they
Oh,
have.
gee, what you think, brother? I love to hear you talk, man. What you think?
It's all good. It sounds good. I was going to bring up, do you guys remember the old BBC interview they did on Pete Sparks?
Yeah.
And it was probably one of the first times I ever saw pit bulls in the mainstream. But if in that interview, I think there was one of the dogs that Pete was talking about, which I always felt very interesting. He said, this dog was not a box dog because he won't scratch. And the only reason he kept him because he's killed 4 of his dogs in yard accidents.
Hmm.
And that was interesting that that was probably filmed in the early 80s, late 70s, that some of his dogs wouldn't scratch, but they had killed some of his actually match dogs that got loose. If you get a chance, try to look at that old BBC interview.
Now, who was doing the interview? You said it was, and who was the guy that was being interviewed again?
I think it's Pete Sparks.
Pete Sparks, huh? Good record, yeah.
In fact, I believe that's where they got that. That pit bulls or other dogs are used for bait dogs because they were harping on Sparks, and as a joke, he was being facetious. He said, "Yeah, we use them. We feed them cats and little dogs and this and that." He was making fun of it because it
Right.
was surprising to him that someone would bring that up and say that about pit bulls, because in his mind, nobody does that. Don't make no sense. So they ran with that. It's in one. I don't know if it's that interview or another one they did, but he's openly talking about dog fighting and all the stuff that's involved in it.
Hmm.
And I think that's kind of where it started, and they just ran with it.
Wow.
But yeah, I've had dogs they'd fight all day, man, but they wouldn't scratch. So there's a disconnect there, and they can be, as long as the dog came to them, they would fight.
That
But you
sound
face
like
them with the,
Burton's Hank. Wasn't Burton Hank? Was he like that or?
now he made funny moves. He would twist and turn and growl and run away and come back and do all kinds of weird stuff.
Oh, okay.
So
You see that in
that's
some
that's
of
an
the Hank
interesting
dogs.
point, Richard. So a dog that won't scratch would be viewed as a cur, even though it probably, would kill your match dogs if they got close to it.
Yeah, yeah. That's what Heinzel told me about Bambi, Gaibo's mother. Is she would fight as long as the dog came to her, she would fight, and them dogs could bite hard. Her brother was a killer, and but she wouldn't scratch. And like I said, I had some dogs like that. They wouldn't go across. Just do them over and over again. But if you scratch a dog to them, it came to them, they'd start fighting again, like
Mhm.
like just normal.
Hmm.
So whatever the disconnect is, and I tried to get them. I have a way of trying to teach dogs to scratch and all that. I had on a rag or on a piece of leather or something. Just do it over and over so they get that in their head to scratch. But a few, there was more than a couple. It was almost a whole litter. They just wouldn't scratch. I couldn't get them to do it.
That is
Would you
wild.
would you call that a cur trait or just a dog that just won't scratch?
Well, it's you know that's a good question. I would. It's a cur trait if you look at it in the traditional sense. But most dogs, when they quit, they won't fight. But these will, and it's not like they're defending themselves. They're going at it, hammer and tongs. They're just bam, bam, bam. Some could bite hard too. They screwing your dog up, man. They tearing them up. But you put them on the line, they just won't go. So I wouldn't call it a cur in the traditional sense.
Yeah,
It just it's weird,
yeah, and I think that's probably
Hmm.
uh, where things have changed in history is there's gameness. I believe there's degrees of gameness. Okay, meaning a dog that is willing is a game dog. Whether it's deep game is really the question. Is it a half-hour game dog? Is it a 45-minute game dog? Is it a 2-hour game dog? Or is it a 4-hour game dog? It's really what degree of gameness that has. Um, does that make it occur? I guess if it quits even at 4 hours, it's occur. But I don't know. I think you got to be game to even be willing to engage in the first place. It's just how deep of gameness are you?
Right.
So if you go back and look at a lot of the old interviews that Howard Heinzel spoke about his family of dogs, he'll tell you their temperament. So I won't say it's a curve because a lot of the ones that were passed on from Howard to his close friends that are still around today, they still have that temperament that they are just good family pets. But if they got into a situation where they had to defend themselves, it's no different than if we was approached by a stranger that was trying to harm us. So you have to go back and look at how the family was built by the breeder, meaning Howard Heinzel, that really gave you the truth about his family of dogs.
Yeah,
Right. And
people ask me all the time which ones would be good family dog. Today, I don't know, but I said back in the day, the Heinzel dogs were like that, real manageable.
They no
Some could
different. I
turn it
own
off
one.
and turn it on whenever they wanted to. They were good
It's no
with
di- it,
people.
it's no different. They like that. I
Yeah,
own one. They like it to this day.
yeah,
It's no different.
yeah.
None.
And he knew how to breed, man. You could look at his animal, not just the dogs, but he had race horses. He had goats, award-winning goats. He had guinea fowl. He had what do you call them things? With the big tail, uh,
peacocks.
peacocks, all kind of. They all look in perfect health, solid bone, and he knew how to breed, and he knew before it was called epigenetics. He had that down too. How you raise them, how you feed them, how you manage them.
Well, the one I own, I made a family pet because that's just what it presented itself. And I'm not saying that it didn't, have a squabble because again, if we'll get approached by a stranger and that stranger tries to harm us, we are going to protect ourselves. But just in a normal, active, out in public day, we are sociable, kind, caring type
Yeah,
people. Just so
yeah,
that's the Heinz that's the Heinz dog. They are very
yeah,
intelligent. They think they are a human with four legs. They are very caring. If they could be the perfect protection dog of this family. I
yeah.
wouldn't. I
You
would
don't even need to teach them how to protect. They'll just do it naturally. You don't have to show them
exactly.
nothing. They
Exactly.
just do it. And
Once they build
if
that bond with you, then you become part of their tribe, and they will, like you just said, protect you.
Yeah,
Let you
and
know when there's danger.
it's to the level of the threat. It's not like if somebody starts yelling at you, they just going to attack them and bite them. No, they'll get between the person, or they'll push up on the person that's being the antagonist. It's weird. I know one. She was uh, wasn't even really a pit bull guy that owned her, but he had her, and she slept with the kids at night.
Mm.
Somebody broke into the kids' room through the window, and the dog grabbed it by the chest and put him on the ground. But she just held him there until the cops come. The dude wouldn't move; he would stay there, and she wasn't biting him hard to hurt him, but she held him there, and he wouldn't move. He was so scared he wouldn't move. And but she didn't. It was to that level, right? If he'd have got up and started fighting, she probably would have tore him up. But
Right.
he stopped. He laid there, so she just held him with her mouth on his chest.
Mhm.
Oh wow!
They're like that, you know.
You said that was a Heinz bred dog?
It was half Heinzel.
Okay. Hmm.
I in my mind, that intelligence like that's coming from the Heinzel side. It wasn't coming
Yeah.
from the Carver side.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, there's
I
some
just did a.
old
Tell me
family
what you
red
think
dogs
about this, OG.
that would be like that.
You said what?
Yeah, I was gonna say, OG. Tell me what you think about this. This topic came up, and I'll try to go through it real quick. I'm gonna put a video up about it later, but it came up back in the day. This happened to me. I used a dog. He lost, but he won Gameston show. He took punishment. Went over an hour, a little bit over an hour. He made his courtesy scratch. I used him again after that, and he quit in 30 minutes. So I
So,
started doing some research. In my mind, even back then, I always felt the dog is going to produce or it's going to behave of what it is at the time that you make a breeding, let's say. Along with that, what effect does trauma have on the dog? So I started doing some research back and forth. Does it change the DNA and all this stuff? And what I found, what it said is the trauma doesn't change the DNA in the dog, but what it does is it triggers certain DNA codes in the dog. And that's what looks like a change. Meaning let's put it this way, every dog there's something behind them or something in them that could cause them to quit.
yeah, that's
Before the dog itself quits, he may throw several game dogs. After it has that trauma, that level of gameness that he produces may go down because of the codes that he's presenting through his DNA to his offspring.
yeah, that's an interesting point. I would think it's the confidence level, maybe testosterone. There must be something in the dog's DNA that if it lacks confidence because it experienced trauma, um, does it pass on the weaker genes versus the stronger genes?
That's basically what they're saying. That the
Yeah,
trauma can cause that. It's kind of like you have a healthy back in the day before the Holocaust, you have a healthy individual. They go through the Holocaust, they're beaten down, they happen to survive, they're never healthy again, their mind is all fucked up. they have children, but the children are weaker than they would have been if they'd have had children before they went through that trauma during the Holocaust. It's kind of something like that.
Yeah, I think if you could actually look at nature infanticide with certain species like lions and bears, and that they will kill the babies of the males they beat. And those males that lost typically don't go on to sire more babies because their genes aren't strong enough. It's almost like a nature thing, selection thing.
Right. Or why do some females cull their own pups?
Mm-hmm. I've seen that
Do they
if they're sick or weak, they'll
Yeah.
eat.
Like that? Yeah. I've seen that too.
I believe, my dogs, I don't really intervene. I believe survival of the fittest. So the puppies that are going to live are going to live. The ones are not, they're not. But I think generationally, it means the stronger genes survived over a period of time. I don't save pups, is what I'm saying. But a lot of times the mother will make that decision for me. She'll decide.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. I'm the same way.
Yeah.
And I've talked to people about it. Why are you spending thousands of dollars to save a pup that the mother itself knew wasn't healthy or something was wrong with it?
Right.
Because if you take that pup after it grows up and you breed it, now you're introducing weaker genes into your family of dogs. Because the mother knew something that you don't know, and maybe you should take her advice in that respect.
I've seen it. Because what we don't see as humans is the congenital problems that the mother consents.
Right.
So let's say you saved a puppy because you liked it or you liked the breeding. The mother was pushing it aside, wasn't going to feed it, or she killed it or trying to kill it. That puppy, if it grows up, if it had congenital problems, they're going to grow up as an adult dog. As soon as you put pressure on it, it could have a heart problem, a lung problem, or something we can't see.
Right.
So
Okay,
I
but then
agree.
we can't forget if it's a young mother also. I had that same problem. So I had a young mother first time having a litter, and she tried which is what y'all described,
Yeah,
and I saved it from her, but it grew up to be fine, no health issues at all. So I'm not saying the mothers don't know, but when you have a newly mother, certain instincts will kick in over other instincts.
I have a mother right now that I thought she was going to kill her pups, first time breeding, because I put her in the kennel and she was ready to deliver, and she was next to a kennel of 6-week-old puppies, and she pulled them through the fence and killed them. And I was like, oh damn, she's going to kill her litter of puppies. But she was a great mother. She was just killed other puppies, and it was weird.
Yeah,
But
there's all kinds of
that's
scenarios. Somebody asked me, how does the mother know that something's wrong with the pup? And I just basically answered, well, how do some dogs know, and this has been documented, that someone has cancer?
right. Or even
So
diabetes.
there's something, whether it's or diabetes, whatever it is, there's a health issue in that person. Is it the smell? Is it the pheromones? Is it whatever it is? They know. And depending on the situation, a dog who's a bad mother, it could be just the atmosphere you have her in. If you have her in an atmosphere next to other dogs and they get her to bow up and she's all excited, she's going to lash out. And that's why some of them kill their pup. They want to grab something and they're going to take it out on their pup. So we always had our mothers away from everything. If it was outside, it was a separate place where no dogs were around. If it was cold, we bring them inside. So they were inside in our pantry. And I never had a female adversely act towards her pup. Never.
I I think I told you, Richard, my cousin gave me a pure carver dog when I was a teenager. And the reason he gave her to me was she would eat all her puppies and he couldn't figure it out. So he said, look, see what you can do. I couldn't he couldn't raise any pups off her. And I actually wormed her, put her on Eukanuba puppy, a real high protein diet, fattened her up during the pregnancy, and she didn't kill one puppy. It was weird.
Well, nutrition plays a big part. In fact, they put a post up in my group recently. The experiment was done where they poorly fed a sow, a pig, and she had blind pigs. They took her and they fed her properly, gave her healthy food, all the minerals, vitamins, minerals, trace element, all this stuff, right? And they did it with the blind piglet off of her too. They bred that blind piglet to the mother. All the pigs were healthy. None of them were blind. None of them had any health issues. So a lot of it could be a health issue or a nutrient deficiency issue.
That's what I'm thinking. If your dog's eating her pups, it's probably a nutritional thing.
Yeah. And once you get them right, that instinct for killing them don't kick in, because they inherently know they have all the nutrients they need. They don't have to eat their pups to get more nutrients.
Mm-hmm.
It could be something as simple as that. I don't know. It's just I make observations all the time, and I get all this information from everybody, and people ask me questions, and I give my own experiences. I don't have the answer sometimes 100%, but I can at least, this is what happened. And why didn't my females ever kill any of their pups? In fact, I had one that she would nurse anything, kittens, other breeds of dogs, anything. If we had whatever, we could put it on her and she'd nurse it. She was just that way. Inbred Jeep bitch.
Yeah, I mean, that's the interesting part about these dogs is you name it, it's happened. And you never know. I think I got a dog right now that I could trust with any of my puppies. She's a natural mother, and she's killed a dog on my yard in a yard accident. But if you don't mess with her, she's actually pretty cool with most of the dogs.
Right.
But then I got one that, I don't know, the teeth chatter because they're excited.
Yeah.
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 And anything that gets near her, she's going to grab. And that's just the way she's wired.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I do not let puppies get near her because she will kill them.
Yeah. Well, that's a good point you make, because I think that's part of having breeding dog is to recognize certain behaviors in them. And then how are you going to treat them? How are you going to maintain them, keep them, preventative maintenance? If they're all different in some way, then they each need different types of care or maintenance or separation. We had one, a man biter, and humans he would bite, kids he wouldn't bite, and he would let puppies eat out of his food bowl and climb on him and chew him up, fight him like that, little puppies. But adults, man, if you did the wrong thing, he'd bite you.
I've seen that. We got some of the old family reds we have are very protective of the family, actually more protective than other strains. They bond with the family. And the one my son has is very protective of my 6-year-old granddaughter. You make a bad move, he's going to fire off on you. But, he's outside of that, he's a cool dog.
Yeah. Yeah. we used to say some of them OFRN, they're one owner dogs.
They are.
They don't like nobody else except their owner and the family like that.
Yeah, they're very much bond. And I think that's the way they were bred in the old days, was they were much part of the family. But yeah, I see that quite a bit, is knowing their personalities. They're like people, some of them are little off.
Mhm. Yeah.
Some of them are not.
Yeah.
I mean, I got some that are just a little off. It's like,
Yeah.
you just got to manage them a little differently.
Right.
Like the one I was talking about that just killed not her pups, but the pups in the kennel next to her. Once I weaned the puppies and brought them back to her like 3-4 months later, she tried to hit them.
Yeah.
It was weird. So
Yeah, mine would all do that because we rolled them into each other. Sometimes a mother with a daughter, a father with a son, brothers and sisters. Cause I didn't care.
Mhm.
I put them all together. It didn't matter, and could be one of the reasons. But plus their background too, where my males and females will fight each other. That's why I started doing AI myself. It was just too hard to get them to breed. You can get them to breed. For me, I'm lazy. It's just too much trouble. So I figured out I could AI them, and I wouldn't have to worry about nothing.
I have a couple. Actually, I got a female in Kratos who just died. He was this way. I used to call them prison dogs. Okay, so they'll mount a dog, and they're waiting for that dog to make a move. And then as soon as that dog shows any type of aggression, it's on. But they
Yeah.
sit there like, I dare you, make a move.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's weird. And
Yeah.
I saw a female doing it to one of my males the other day. She would mount him and just sit there. And as soon as he made a move, she'd fire off on him.
Yeah. Weird. Then I
So,
had a couple of my females that they would fight any male like that, and some stray dogs bred them.
yeah, right.
They let the stray dog do it. And I just think the way that the stray dog don't show aggression. They're real coy and they bow down and they just smooth their way in. And
Well,
one
I'll tell you
happened
what,
like in a couple of minutes. I went inside, I came out, and the fucking dog's breeding my dog, my bitch.
so when I was living in the high desert over in California, we used to have these desert dogs. Straight, they run in packs.
Yeah.
And I had my 44 Magnum dog and his daughter. And I came out, and one of those desert dogs was tied with her. I was pissed. So I was going to go get my gun and shoot the desert dog. I said, no, he got to earn his keep. So I turned 44 Magnum loose. And this is how cold the female was. As soon as 44 Magnum hit him, she came loose and she turned on that dog too.
Yeah. I got what I wanted. I don't need you no more.
Oh, ruthless bitch. And they both had this desert dog and they were killing it. I was like, oh shit. Yeah, that was pretty rough.
Yeah. We used to say the females were mean and nasty, man. They're a little bit different.
You can't trust them. They're like,
can't trust them, man.
Yeah, like,
yeah.
You don't got no loyalty.
No.
Yeah, they're actually of all of them, the males are like independent, but the females are very much family oriented, and they're probably a little more aggressive and a little more protective than the males. In my opinion.
That's just their motherly instinct.
Yeah, that's what I think.
And it carries over to even your own children. Mm-hmm. Mine were, some, how dogs, they jump on you and they get all excited, this and that, bump you in the face and all that. They wouldn't do that with the kids. With the kids, They were real, be careful not to step on them and be careful not to hit them with their chain, or real aware. The
other thing I see is if you're a little mentally off, or let's say you're on drugs, my dogs will fire off on you. They smell. Oh man,
that's a good point.
Yeah.
One of my buddies, and my dogs didn't bite, but one of my buddies was drunk, and he goes up to my dog, starts to pet him. My dog gets down, he starts growling at him, and I just grabbed him and pushed him away. Get away. He didn't like drunk people, I guess. Yeah. He never acted that way any other situation, but this guy was drunk, and it was the smell or whatever, the attitude or whatever it was that he didn't like. I don't know if he would have bit him or not, but he acted like he was going to.
I've seen that is if you're not right, if you're right, they love you. But if you're not right, is like they could sense it.
Yeah.
But I mean, I've seen it all pretty much. If it's happened, I guess in 37 years, if it's happened, it's happened.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's one of those things. It's learning through experience and a lot of mistakes because we all started not knowing anything, and there even today I'm still learning. But if it's
Yeah.
going to happen with these dogs, it's going to happen.
Right. Oh yeah. If you have them long enough, everything will happen to you. And you know, my
Right.
daughter, she gets mutts, she gets whatever, you know, she's got 3 or 4 of them all the time, and she'll find one, bring it home. So they were putting a pool in their house, and she was worried about, you know, a dog getting in there, maybe drowning. So I told her, Mija, do this. Stand there, put the dog in there, let it swim. When it starts getting tired, pull it out, right? And I mean tired to where it's going to go under.
Mhm.
Pull it out. Wait about 15 minutes, let it catch its breath. Put it in there, and the dog's going to swim for 2, 3 hours
Mhm.
without going under. And there's some kind of mechanism in there. And I had her do that with all her dogs, just in case they happen to get in there. Because they're
Mhm.
too stupid to find the steps and just walk out. They're swimming around, swimming around.
Right.
So I told her, try that, see if it works. And she came back, yeah, Dad, it worked. The first time, after 15 minutes, the dog's going to drown. I go, but then when I let it rest, I put it in there, it swam for 2 hours straight and it didn't drown. And I said, it's that survival thing. I think what it is because you saved it the first time, it's going to swim around thinking that at some point you're going to save it. So it's not panicking. It's not swimming too fast. It's not losing its adrenaline, have that adrenaline drunk,
Mhm.
and it'll just swim for, eventually it'll drown. But at least if you're away or something and the dog gets in the water, it might last long enough to where when you come home, the dog's still swimming, you can pull it out.
Right.
And we had, my dad had taught me that with the cow dogs we had, because we had a lot of ponds and reservoirs, and sometimes they'll get in there after some animal and they'll just swim around, swim around. So he didn't want them to drown. So he's the one taught me that kind of experiment. Put them in there and let them almost drown, and then take them out. Wait a little while, put them in there again, and they won't drown. It was
Right.
just his old country way of doing it.
Oh, that's a OG Loco.
Oh,
That
that's a nice
Daphne.
looking dog.
Yeah.
That's a good looking dog. It looked like that stuff.
Um, yeah, those dogs. I think the good part about them is I kept them game myself, so that's why I can't speak of other old family red nose strains. It was just more or less that I liked a game dog, and I bred my own dogs in my own yard, and I liked a deep game dog, and that's just what I liked. So I was probably harder on them 20, 30 years ago than I am today, but being hard on them is the reason I got the dogs today that are doing really good.
Hmm.
Yeah, they got
So
that look. They got that distinctive look that I've noticed. It's like
yeah,
you can't
if,
hide it. So
if you saw the grandmother to these dogs or great grandmother, oh my god, that dog was ugly. It was like missing half her face from yard accident. I was like, they've gotten a lot prettier since then. But if you want to talk about an evolutionary process, you can see it in the pictures. But yeah, these little dogs, they're actually small, to be honest with you. So the first ADBA show when I went to Oregon, when I moved to Oregon, I didn't know nobody, and I took my dogs to Oregon ADBA show in Washington, and people were like, "What do you got?" I go, "I got old family red nose," and the first thing they said is, "Oh, you got those big old 80-pound weight pull dogs?" I go, "No, my dogs are like 35 pounds. They're game." "No, you don't." And I said, "Yeah, I do," and I pulled all these little 35, 40-pound dogs out of the crates, and people had never seen them. Uh, they were just not something they were used to seeing. And then they're like a burgundy red. They're like a deep red, which a lot of people hadn't seen. But
Kind of make your own color too, you know, doing that.
yeah, and I think that's just what the traits that I liked I really didn't care about hard mouth or ability. I just liked a smart, deep game dog, and that's tended what I got. So what I had to do to take them up a notch was do the outcrosses on the Chinaman and the Mayday blood, and it complements each other. It really took some of. We just had one right now that is a 3-way cross that's really exceptional. Caught a hog in 8 minutes flat, and it's a China old family red nose Lonzo cross, and for some reason, man, they got some mouth on them, like devastating mouth and surprising.
Yeah, it's partly due to the cross and partly due to the Lonzo dog because that's what they're known for.
Yeah, and that's what I thought. Adding a little bit of the Lonzo Zebo blood to the Chinaman blood, it just brought
Chinaman too, yeah.
that heavy mouth to them.
I tell people all the time, that everything you like about your pit bulls is directly related to what they were originally bred for. It's that fighting aspect because there's so much involved in it. It's not just one thing. The structure, the temperament, the intelligence, the behavior, the athleticism, the durability, the toughness, the being good with kids and people, all that you like about them is directly related to that fighting aspect. And there's different reasons why, but that's where it comes from.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah, I really believe like mine's when I talk to them when they're working, they hear me. They know and they'll work harder.
Yeah.
And
well, my dad used to teach our cow dogs how to work cattle. He didn't have any formal training and he just did it. And part of it is the natural instincts of the dogs to do certain things. But just the way, and he could talk to them in Spanish and English. They understood both.
Oh, bilingual dogs, right on.
Yeah. And he would just let them run and see which ones did it the best. And then he'd tell them, do this, put them in a circle or go get that stray, load them up on the trailer. All this stuff. They just do it, man. It was weird. I never seen nothing like it.
One of my best horseback riding dogs was my pit. And I take her horseback riding with me. She always stayed next to the horse. She never bothered the horse. And she listened to me. And we would run into these packs of, like I said, desert dogs. And they would surround the horse and they would be trying to attack the horse. And I would tell Keisha, I would go, get him, Keisha. And she'd jump in the middle and take them all on, like 20 of them.
Yeah.
And I'd get far enough away with the horse. And then I'd call, Keisha, come on. And she'd jump out of the middle of these pack of desert dogs and then come up.
Yeah.
And she really wouldn't bother a dog unless I said, get him, Keisha.
Right.
And once I said that, it was on.
But
she communicated with me. Very intelligent dog.
Yeah. Well, Ham Morris, old dog guy, that's how he worked his dog next to a horse. So most of them, if not all of them, they wouldn't bother the horse. He just run them alongside the horse,
and it really depends on. I got a couple I could probably ride the horse with. I got some that.
Yeah.
Like they're gonna bother the horse and everything around.
Yeah, I don't know what it is, but I'm gonna fight it.
And for me, is actually because I like a good hunting working dog. I like a balanced temperament.
Yeah,
like they know. One of the OG Ruger who just died. He was. I think I told you, he was a hog hunting dog. Actually, he had over 100 catches in his career. And one of the main concerns was, people used to always call and ask me, how do you get your dogs to hunt with other dogs? Is he would hunt with the pack of hounds and then they would send him in. He never would hit a dog. He knew the hog was his job. But he was smart because there was a couple of hounds that he didn't like, and he would try to get them in the back of the truck. But once they were hunting, he never bothered them.
Yeah.
It was weird how they know that. So
I
I don't
guess
know.
if you go through the process a few times, they know that the focus at that time is on the hog.
Yeah,
When there's no hog around, then maybe we could fight, kind of like a coworker.
and that's what we saw with
Uh,
him was if you weren't hunting him, he was going to start picking fights.
yeah,
But I saw videos of him hunting, and when the hounds when they make a certain sound, like when they have a hog cornered,
yeah, right,
his ears would start rotating, like he knew
yeah.
the sound of the hound.
he knew the
It,
different vocal. Yeah,
it was time to work. So yeah, they're a lot smarter than we think they are.
right, right.
But
If we could only talk to them, we could have that conversation.
yeah, I
but
know
but
things.
yeah, but there's if you pay attention to them, if you learn your dogs, you can communicate with them. You can teach them certain things. You can understand things, and it's that way with conditioning or
Right.
whatever it is you're doing. You
And,
have to.
and and that's why I think family breeding is so important because I've been doing this from 1990. Uh, I know the dog's traits. I know where they got them from. I know how the great grandparents and the great great grandparents acted and their strengths and weaknesses. And so you get to know your dog's family, the traits that
Yeah,
are very typical of the line of dogs you have. And then when you introduce something new, you can see, oh, that's different,
right,
because this is not typical of that family.
right. That's most important. That's why I say you make the type of dog, the kind of dogs you want. You make them how
Yeah,
you want them, and you do
yeah,
that by selecting the individuals that have the traits that you like, and then you breed them and see if they throw those traits. And once you
yes,
lock them in like that, over time, they're going to be consistent throwing those traits. Even though people say, well, you never know where it's coming from, anything can happen. Okay, that's true. But there is a way to have consistency. They're not all going to be that way. They're not all going to have all the traits you like, but they'll have most of them. And whatever faults they have, if they're minor, you can deal with it. If it's a major fault, then it's best not to continue using and breeding them.
yeah, and I think that's the important part is having a standard, you know, of what you want on your yard. And my standard is going to be different than any other breeder. So everybody has their own standard. What I feel is game, someone may not feel is game, and vice versa. It depends what your standard that you want for your yard and how you select your dogs. Uh, but I used to, well, I actually still do it. For hog hunting, I like to test my dogs off the chain on a hog, fat, probably 10 pounds overweight, off, because a fat dog's going to run hot faster and heat will make them quit faster than anything. Um, and then I have them push, 10, 15 pounds uphill on a hog till they're tired, take some bottom time with the hog, pull them off the hog a few times, make them scratch. And as long as they're scratching and when they're hot, I was like, that's a game dog for me. And that'll
Yeah,
be, you know, but that's my standard. But I like to
yeah,
see my dogs take bottom time because I've seen dogs that'll dominate on top and quit on bottom. You know,
yeah. And it's a way of finding that out because you're right. They'll quit from heat or exhaustion before they will from pain.
yes,
And it's a way of seeing it where they're not taking that much damage, but you're
I
still
think these,
seeing the result of them being hot or tired, and they still want to go.
yeah, and I think that's something that I've learned over the years is these dogs are pretty durable and their pain resistance is pretty high. So they're not going to quit over being hurt. Uh, it, they can handle it. What they're going to quit is they either mentally break down because they're not mentally tough, or they run hot and they're just too hot to do anything. But I think
Yeah,
I've seen dogs that, that were pretty banged up that it didn't bother them until after.
No.
Then after they're like, I regret this.
Yeah. One old dog guy said that their nerve endings have been bred so far back that they don't feel shit,
I believe
And
that.
I think that it's not that they don't feel it, is they just ignore it.
Yeah.
Like they don't care, And they do have a high pain tolerance. But if you can't breathe or you're fatigued or frustrated, like you'll quit from that more than you will from pain.
Yeah,
You can't function.
And I think the cur trait is a mental trait.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
They quit when they really haven't taken any damage.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. In fact, I interviewed him, Renol Morris. He's a dog guy and a chicken guy. And he made this observation with roosters. Their gameness comes from a sex side of things. That's his opinion. That it's sex dominated, right? Dominance over another cock when they're fighting. And with pit bulls, with dogs, his opinion, it's all in their mind. It's all a mental thing with them. And because he said, if you breed game to game with chickens, fighting roosters, you're going to get game. It's almost 100%. With dogs, it's never that way. But that was his opinion. That's what and he's old now, so he has a lot of experience. So maybe he's right. But I always felt gameness came from a lot of different sources. It's not just one thing, but it is mental. It is.
Yeah, I really feel it's a mental thing. Mind over matter, that your body's saying quit, but your mind don't let you quit.
Right.
And I think that's a trait. And, you want mentally strong dogs, not only physically strong, but mentally strong. And the only way you could tell if they're mentally strong is you got to test them hard. Can they take what they dish out? A lot of them can't. They can't take what they dish out. But as long as they're dominating, they're on top, they're in control. Well, you put them behind, mentally they'll break down.
Yeah. Yeah. Even when you see dogs that are on top and quit on top, some will just walk away. I've seen that happen over and over. It's still a mental thing with them. They still break down mentally. And it could be that I'm doing everything I can to this fool and he ain't quitting, so I am. I'll quit. Like, fuck it, I'm done. He ain't.
Right.
He won't give up, so I'm gonna give up. I'm out of here. Yeah. It's weird because they'll be going at it and just out of the blue, they're winning. And they just stop and turn and walk away. Let go and just walk away, man. Or jump out,
I call that the Roberto Duran thing.
Yeah, that's rank. That's
no mas. No mas.
Yeah, like that. Yeah.
That's why I say, breeding your family of dogs, test their mental state. Because they'll quit over that faster than anything else.
Yeah. You'll have better dogs if you breed and raise your own than you do keep acquiring dogs from here and there. You know them, you know everything about them. You know their strong suits and their, negative stuff, their faults, all their good traits, all that. It just makes it a lot easier.
And I know a lot of people, they're high on certain bloodlines and they're really like certain things about dogs. But I look at it as, if you look like your family of dogs and your dogs are meeting your standards and your needs, and that's a good dog. Don't give up on them.
Yeah.
Try to improve them. Try to make them better.
Yeah. People sometimes think the grass is greener on the other side. A lot of times it's not really.
Yeah,
You're better sticking with your own stuff.
I've been offered a lot of fast lane dogs over the years, and I've had them, but I've never given up my family. I've always kept my family going.
Yeah.
But
If they can add something, use it. Or if they have the same stuff that yours had and you incorporate it and you get some hybrid bigger from it, athleticism like that, use it. But you should
yeah,
always keep your foundation your foundation.
right. And one of the things I'm really trying to explore or exploit is I've been reading a lot on Patrick's Homer, which was the Klaus blood and how it was used in the Patrick line of dogs. And I see a lot of similarities. My dogs are heavily bred Klaus's Stabber blood, and those Patrick Homer was a heavy Klaus Stabber blood, and I think that's really the key right there. Is the Klaus Stabber blood is if you have good working dogs that are bred down from that blood, that it crosses really good with other strains.
Yeah.
And I'm going to try and do some breedings to prove that theory. That's the thing about breeding is you just got to be willing to experiment and see what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, I agree. I
You know,
agree.
and
It
if you
worked
love,
good with a lot of different stuff too. You know, they even used some of that with the white blood. It was the red baby stuff, but it was red baby's brother, but it
Mhm.
has that cloud stuff on the bottom side. It's worked
Yeah,
good with different, and all that has old family red nose in it. You know, a lot of
right,
dogs have old family red nose in it if you go back far enough because they
right.
just utilize it. Heinz will utilize it. Tudor used it. A lot of different people. You just have to go back far enough to see where it was, and they're basically using it at the time that it was around
Right.
in real time. You know, I like that. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna do it.
Yeah, and there's a lot of there's not too much of the old blood left anymore that people kept it going.
Yeah.
And I think if you could use it and still and that's the theory I'm trying to prove right now is that if you get these old dogs at a working level again, high working level, um, that they still provide value in producing top dogs. You know.
Yeah, we did a show. It's been 3 or 4 years now, and they had some Kinzenbah dogs there. Neat little dog, man. Very unique looking,
Mhm.
and they were basically Klaus with the Bolio cross in it,
Oh
and
yeah,
just man, yeah, I was impressed by them. And small, they were all low to mid 30s. You know,
yeah. Bonnie's a good friend of mine, so shout out to you, Bonnie. I really like Bonnie and her dogs.
just
Um,
good people.
so yeah, I think that formula works. If you look at the way Kizenbaugh bred his dogs, and if you look at the way Michael's bred their dogs, um, it's
You don't
not.
see it around much. I see it, but I don't see it around much.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think there's a lot of it. These are on the West Coast. They were all in California, and it
Yeah.
was a bunch of like local guys that had it lived in that area.
Mhm.
Kinzenbach lived. It was actually a Kinzenbach memorial show we did. His wife was there. She's passed away now too. Rest in peace.
Mhm.
But we did a memorial show, and they brought the dogs. And of course I had to give them an
I don't
award
think the
because
West
they
Coast get
were.
enough credit for the amount of good dog man and good dogs that come out of here.
We don't. We don't. We never have. We're so far removed from everybody else.
Mhm.
I think that's part of it. But nah,
And
man. And like I said before, a lot of the guys out here, I didn't, but a lot of the guys out here went back there and competed, but not very many of them from out there came over here.
you know what I
Yeah.
just found out was Hobbs lives in my town.
Does he?
Yeah, yeah. A guy,
Huh.
he was driving by one day, and he actually was at the Chinaman hubcap match here in Oregon.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so he came one day. He always drove by my house. He saw all the dogs. He goes, "Oh, I see all your dogs." And we started talking. He goes, "What's that black one?" I go, "A Chinaman." He goes, "What do you mean Chinaman?" I go, "Yeah, it's a Chinaman dog." I told him. Then he's telling me the story. And then he was telling me Hobbs actually lives like a mile from me.
Wow.
And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, he's like in his 80s or something like that.
Yeah, I bet. I bet.
But I don't know if people know who Hobbs was. He was Hobbs Tuffy, correct?
Yep. Yeah.
Which
At the time, she had the record for the longest time for females, 4 hours and 24 minutes.
and she's
And that's
in
actually, she's in the background of, what dog is it?
Frisco. Is it Frisco? She's
Frisco.
in?
Yeah. Yeah. The bottom side of Frisco. Right.
Yeah. So those
Yeah.
Hobbs dogs, and she was a Klaus dog, right?
Is it
Yeah,
that Hobbs with
yeah.
the champion TJ dog?
Yeah.
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 Okay. Yeah, I know that blood.
Yeah. He had TJ, and then TJ went to Baja, and they used him down there too.
Yeah, good
Yeah.
blood. Very good blood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chinaman on that card, that was a 6-match card. He got best in show over Hubcap.
Right. And then Hubcap.
And then
was-
Hubcap, he won after that. He beat a champion after that, I think.
and he was a highly regarded dog. I think they
Oh,
thought
yeah.
he was gonna win.
Yeah, he was a badass. He lost in like 22 minutes.
Yeah. That's the way it goes.
That's the way it goes.
Yeah, small world though. I was like, wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if he's into dogs anymore, but next time my buddy stops by, maybe I'll have him take me, introduce me.
Yeah. I think he went by Little Hawk or something like that.
Hobbs
Maybe
did?
yeah, I think.
Uh-huh.
Was he in a wheelchair?
I don't know. I haven't met the guy, but he's an older gentleman.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's been around a long time.
My buddy, I guess he knows Vinny, and he said Vinny was sending him a couple of those Lucky 2 dogs.
Okay.
So, I'll get to take a look at those if he gets them up here.
Yeah. Good.
But it's a small world, man. It is. It's amazing. Somebody knows somebody that knows somebody.
Always.
And
Always.
I guess my only advice is I
Common
know
interest.
we all love our own strains, we're all high on it. But if you love game pit bulls, you got to love them all.
All of them. It don't
Yeah.
matter. Even if you don't like the guy, you can't take it out on the dog.
I told people,
he's
like,
a dog.
I don't like Mike Norad. I didn't like him when he was alive, but I'm going to breed to his blood if I ever get a good female.
Yeah.
Not personal.
Yeah, it's not. Yeah.
I'm like
Well,
that. with
even my
everybody.
friend, he had a lot of the Homer blood, Ozzy's Homer.
Mhm.
And most people, they wouldn't cross it with Jeep, because Jeep won and all that stuff. But he said, hey, man, why not? I'm going to have, Homer known dead game. He was a badass dog, this and that. Jeep won. I'm going to put them together. He did. He didn't care about all that personal shit, He said, why not?
Right.
Worked for him.
When you're breeding better dogs and you're being objective and you're about breeding a superior animal, it's objective. It's not personal. You just get the best blood you can and you use it accordingly.
Yeah.
I think people
I think some of them guys that used to criticize, they did it to keep others away from it. There's a in Pete Sparks magazine, Ed Crenshaw had matched a dog and the dog quit. And at the time, Carver wrote a letter in Pete Sparks magazine. He said, class will tell, when the dog quit, after the dog quit, he said, class will tell and shit will smell.
Right.
Talking about Crenshaw's dogs, right? Well, what did he do? He turned around and used Crenshaw dogs.
Yeah, right. Okay.
Even Pete Sparks, a dog quit. He go, oh, that's that Colby blood quitting. He had Colby dogs.
Right.
So I think he had. So I think it's their way of keeping people away. I'm going to get it, but you may. I don't want you to have it.
Well, dog politics. That plays a big factor in this dog world we're in. You gotta just be aware that people are playing politics, and you just got to see it for what it is.
Yeah.
But I always say this is dog politics. My dogs are better than yours because yours suck so bad.
Yeah.
That's how politics work.
Yeah.
I never said mines were that great, but they're just better because
Yeah.
they're stuck that bad. And if you listen to all this stuff going on, that's what they're saying.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
You breed curs. I don't breed curs. So mines are better.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what. I can make any strain of dog cur out. Bring it to my yard. I'll starve it. I won't feed it.
Yeah.
And I was like, look, that dog was a cur because people do that.
Yeah. Well, Mexican Dan said basically the same thing. He said, I can make any dog quit. If I put 10 dogs on them, they'll quit.
Right.
You know? So,
and then you're going to go tell everyone, oh, that dog breeds curs. Well, you know, that's not an objective evaluation.
No.
And that's why you got to look at really what the circumstances were.
Yeah. Happens all the time.
But yeah, that's the one thing I don't like about dog breeding is the politics. I try to stay out of it. It's none of my business. I do me.
Yeah.
I do my family. Some people like them, some people don't, but that doesn't stop me from doing me.
If you have good dogs and people know it, they'll say it. Even and some people won't, of course. They're gonna knock you no matter what. But you don't have to brag. People will acknowledge it. They'll know about it. They'll hear about them. And sometimes it's people that got dogs from you. You know, they're satisfied with your whatever they got.
Right. And those are the people I try to work with. Is okay. Well, send me something back off something that worked for you and it was really good.
Yeah. Why not?
I'm not yard like mine are the best of my line. Is like, no, if someone's out there has something off my dogs that's really proven itself, of course I'm going to breed it back into my line of dogs.
Yeah, why not? It's something that could enhance, help, or whatever, and it's cheaper. You don't have to buy dogs the rest of your life. You don't have to keep buying dogs and paying stud fees.
Did you know at that point is why I started breeding dogs? Because I was poor. We were poor Chicano kids. We couldn't afford $500,000 dogs. So we got one and we just started breeding our own dogs.
Yeah. Well, the average pit bull people are just regular people. There's been some that's been rich, have a lot of money, but most of them, they're just regular. Even Tudor, as much as he was, well known and he didn't have a lot of money. He did all kinds of stuff to make money. He sold bootleg whiskey and did other things and gambled and, he owned his own house, but it wasn't no mansion, just a regular little house. And that's the way most pit bull people are. It's kind of the everyday man dog, even though we feel that only certain people should have it. It's not like racehorses. You call that the sport of kings because it's expensive to have them. A lot of money involved, millions of dollars, sales and all that. It's not that way with pit bulls.
Right. And I don't really sell dogs no more. I mean, I'm giving some of my best dogs away to people I know to get stuff back off them.
Later, yeah.
Yeah, and it's just because I'm more about quality of the dog and quality of the people. I don't need the money.
Right.
But if you're someone that I feel is about improving the program, sure, you can have one of these dogs. Send me if it works out. Send me something. If it don't work out, we're gonna spay it, neuter it, give it away.
Yeah. Why not? I got to a point where I didn't buy dogs anymore. I just made connections. I made friends, stuff I liked. We traded back and forth. They'd send me a dog to show, and I'd use it, send it back. They'd send me a dog, or I'd send them a dog. I'd give them one of my females and say, hey, something works out, send me something back. I'll send it back after I'm done with it.
Right. And I've had that. I've gotten dogs from back south, got 2 litters off them, and I send them back.
Mm-hmm.
Why
not? So many people fight over a dog and steal a dog and don't and lie and all this stuff, and you just messing up your future. You could have dogs forever from that person,
Yeah, and I look
trading
at
them
it this
back and
way:
forth.
if one dog or one puppy is worth ruining a relationship with someone, that says a lot about your character.
True.
It's like, really, you're going to ruin something that we could have had a long, prosperous relationship and benefited from each other over a $500,000 puppy? That doesn't make
Yep.
sense.
One dog.
Yeah.
That's usually what it is. Just one dog.
Mm-hmm.
It never made sense to me.
Mm-hmm.
No, that's a good point.
Because if it's a good one, and they know what they're doing, or you know what you're doing, you're gonna make more. You know, you're gonna have
Right.
more good ones.
Right.
Or you could share those later on too.
And that's really the goal. The goal is, we share and we all succeed together.
Exactly.
So, but it's finding the right people.
True.
That's the hard part.
Yeah, when I got out, I just placed my dogs with the one that I thought would. He had the same standards. He calls me his mentor. He liked my stuff more than anybody else's. He took it and ran with it, and he's in Mexico, but he's still to this day he's got it, and he keeps that kind of true, that family, and then adds stuff to it along the way,
Mm-hmm.
stuff that worked before that he likes. Just keep it going.
Yeah. And that's the evolutionary processes. I view it like breeding's like being a chef. Okay. You want to have good ingredients, and then you mix it and you create a good recipe, but then you say, well, maybe I need to add a little more pepper or salt or chili to it. And then it's balancing it out to get that right flavor.
Yeah.
But if you're constantly evaluating, you're constantly balancing the recipe.
Good analogy.
Yeah. So that's what I view it as. There's no secret, and there's no.
Huge.
Yeah, it's a lot of it is you're playing with your recipe. What works, what doesn't work.
It's constant, ongoing. How long we been on for, Buck? An hour, hour and a half?
3 hours.
It's a
Matter of
3
fact,
hours right there.
Yeah, I got to take my kid to the movies. I told.
Hey, no, you guys feel free to dip out. Feel free, y'all. I appreciate y'all for coming through. Anyway,
All right, hey Buck, I'm going to get you that write up when I get back tonight.
Oh yeah, appreciate you, OG.
Okay, talk to you later.
Good talking to you, OG.
Yes,
Salute,
sir.
brother.
Bye bye.
We got Dickie Foster in the super chat. Dickie Foster in the super chat. Appreciate the support, fam. Appreciate the support. Can't stop,
That's a
won't
loyal
stop.
dude, man.
Oh, OG dipped off. He asked if he was familiar. Tell him about that Hemphill Tiger dog. Nardozos. Yeah, we'll get OG will be back. We'll get him up in here. We'll get him back.
Yeah, he's good people, man. Good people.
Yes, sir. Let me see. Make sure I screenshot that question. Can't stop, won't stop. Appreciate you, fam, for the support. Now we've been cooking, man. I just wanted to give y'all a little dose of the good talk. You know what I'm saying?
Appreciate it.
Get it going. Put something out here,
Yeah, man. I like hearing other people talk, and you just let us go at it, man. There's not a lot of platforms, if any, that do that. So it's something. What's the word? That only you do, basically. Gives other people a chance to give their point of view. There's so many topics, man. It's never ending. It'll keep going forever and ever.
Can't stop, won't stop. I got you, fam. I got you. We're gonna get that on there. You know what I'm saying?
Anybody got any questions? Feel free to ask.
Yeah, y'all got some questions. Hey, y'all got the historian here. You know what I'm saying? He knows about a lot of these older dogs. You know, that's important because I mean, I hear it. I soak up what I can, but I mean, you know, there's nothing like talking to the men that were making the breedings and stuff. That's how you get the real accounts. But I do know what I know with the age group. When I pop my head out, I know that, you know. So that's all we can ask for. Just kind of take a little
Yeah, one of
knowledge
the
from the past and mix it in with the future.
exactly one of the benefits if we talk about a certain bloodline or certain dog, and we talk about their traits or behavior or structure, whatever it is, and you have something down from that, you can see if it coincides with what you have.
Right.
And some of the stuff they change it. That's a breeder's preference to change it sometimes, and you know they're in their mind they're trying to make it better. So they change some of the stuff. They remove some stuff that they don't feel that they want, and there's nothing wrong with that. It's evolution.
He said
About two
always
chords.
with us, huh?
Yeah. Welcome
Oh
down,
yeah.
Ram. About two chords, brother. That takes him about 8 hours.
Hey, Mike Jones said, do you think Mexico has the purest form of Eli? Hold up, somebody. Hold up. Oh, has the purest form of Eli dogs today. I'm talking old standards.
They
You think?
could, you could say that. I'm sure there's some people in the U.S. that have kept them too, but overall, as far as numbers, yeah, they probably have the purest going back because some of the guys have had it since Eli was around, and they kept it going. That guy that I mentioned that inbred him for 25 years, he still has it. So I don't know how long that's been, 40 or 50. Figure from the 70s. So 50 something years. And he's added crosses, but on the basis of it, yeah, they have because all those dogs we talk about, whether it's Midnight Cowboy, Stomper, Rascal, Bully Son, they got litter mates or offspring off of them too. Boleo stuff, that's not Eli, but they've used, and it's pretty limited. Now it's probably expanded where they added Mayday or Red Boy or something else
Right.
that people are using.
Borderland Kennels with the super chat. He asked if you could speak on the Aries dogs you've seen.
I know him. I'm not real familiar with his dog, but he was good in his day. He had a 6-time winner. I forget his name. Just a lot of champions, a lot of competitors. He was all over the place, even in Mexico, all over the Southwest. He's good people. I'm just not personally familiar with his dog, but I used to follow him like I did a lot of different people. Good reputation for having good dogs. Same thing with Randy McCullum. He had good dogs, and a lot of people got dogs from him, and they probably still have his blood. There's some people I'm sure still have Aries blood, and they have Randy McCullum stuff too. Heavy Eli, some Carver, different stuff. Yeah, look up some of the peds. I would say I didn't see this or that. I might have seen them, but I didn't know that's what it was. It depends. Like a lot of in Mexico, I seen them, but I didn't know it was that particular dog. Sometimes I didn't find out till years later, or that blood, or who that breeder was.
He said that's a info I like. He said he'd rather use frozen semen, but breed the current animals that truly represent the blood.
Yeah, that's the benefit of it. You can bring that stuff to the front, or you can just keep it going. Some of them breeders have had their stuff. They haven't lost it. Where a lot of them they lose it and they come back later and they got to get different blood. But some of them still have the same old stuff they had. The morphine still have their morphine blood from back in the day. His son carried on with it.
Right. What do you think about the Hammond's dogs?
The straight stuff is pure, pure what you would call pure Hammonds. They're rough, durable, strong, thick skin, tough dog. But I like them crossed with the Bully Son. When you do that, and that's with a lot of, it's not just Hammonds, but with a lot of blood, when you cross it, that's where you get your athletes. Not that you don't have athletes straight, but when it's crossed with the Bully Son, man, I have a love-hate relationship because I've beat them and lost to them and seen several of them. That's my favorite cross. They're kind of an all-around dog. They got everything, including intelligence.
I seen a post. Somebody was talking about the Gary Hammond dogs, and he's up there in age. His dog's been around for a long time. He's been breeding pretty much the same family of dogs. That's a lot of generations. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
And we don't know what he does with his dogs. Nobody knows. You know what I'm saying? But
yeah,
it's just like, damn. Some people could get away with it, or some people just can't. We talk about inactivity and different things with the bloodlines, and what I'm saying, not being able to, if you're not competing with them, you know what I'm saying. Then of course you don't know what people do. Allegedly,
right.
Nobody does any fucking thing. You know what I'm saying?
Right. Well, here's what happened. It's when they get older, or let's say they retire for whatever reason. It happened with Heinzel, happened with Carver, happened with Hammonds. They put them in the people's hands that are going to use them. And that's what extends the longevity of the blood. And Hammonds put his dogs in a lot of different people's yards, whether it's straight Hammonds, half, quarter, whatever it is. They were utilized by, all kinds of people. That's where I saw the first Hammond cross. Anyway, the Bully Son was Champion Brutus. Great dog, man. And then from there, later on, we went into stuff down off of Brutus. That's who Mr. Rowdy lost to in 2 hours and 31 minutes. Was one of those Hammond Bully Son. Is basically Rufus Bully Son crosses. And that stuff even went to Europe. The King Limey stuff had some of those same Rufus Bully Son crosses. Champion Spike and Nellis. They all have that in them. They have other stuff too. They have the Fox Blood, which was Boomerang's brother, and they have the Snubby, Champion Snubby stuff, which was Tonka's brother. And like OG was saying, it's a small world. Those guys had the Snubby, which is Tonka's brother. Well, Ronnie Anderson had Tonka, which is Snubby's brother, and he had the Alligator Rufus stuff. Kind of the same crosses that they made here. They did the same thing in Europe with King Limey, Nellis, and all those. But a lot of people used it. Gene Matson and the Curry brother, Ronnie Anderson, Mike Abood. Different people had it, used it. Even that little Ronnie dog I got from Boyles, the one cross he was mostly Boleo, but the one cross was was the Hammond stuff. The Rufus bred to Selma, I think. Selma was a little, I forgot how she was bred, but she was a little 30-pound, 3-hour winner.
Yeah.
Wrangler, Shankbone. A lot of guys use that stuff.
Oh yeah, oh yeah. You guys smash that like button. Smash that like button. Smash that subscribe button. We've been cooking. We've been cooking. You know. A new day. Monday tomorrow. Memorial Day tomorrow. You know, you guys make sure you guys kiss and hug them loved ones.
Yeah, thanks to all those who made the ultimate sacrifice.
Yeah, definitely. Let me see who else up in here. Burning Star. See you, brother.
Burn-in.
White Chocolate. Nicholas Bronson. See y'all, man. I see y'all. Borderland. Welcome down Ram. Pulled up.
Ram.
Liquid Lucky. Dickie Foster. Petty Rob. We getting it going.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
I
catch a little
answered
bit of
Ram.
this daylight.
Ram. What's that?
Catch a little bit of this daylight while it's still light out.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah,
come back in,
I
get back
answered.
up
I
under the
answered.
computer.
Yeah, I answered Ram's woodchuck question.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
how
about
much
two
was it?
chords. Yeah, about 2 chords. It take about 8 hours with help.
Let me see. Okay, now I got that super chat too. I appreciate everybody, man. Make sure you guys get the memberships in. Go to the channel. Go right to the Buck City Kennel channel. You can click right there, the little icon at the bottom of the screen. Go to the channel. I've been over there. I already seen it. You can sign up for the membership. That free pup giveaway is going down. Probably when I get off here, I'm gonna figure out how to hook up this camera and set up the whole thing and get it going,
Do you
man.
already have the pup lined up?
You say what?
Do you already have the pup lined up?
Yeah, we might end up giving away 2.
Oh, nice, man. You generous.
Ram thought about, it makes sense, because I'm doing this one for like the members only. And then, just to kind of give them a chance. But then it's kind of like shit. I mean, we did get to 6,000, so it wasn't just the members that got us there. You feel me though? Although we do appreciate the members, but we might just end up giving away 2 of them. You know what I'm saying? Hey,
nice.
If the team says they could afford it, you know what I'm saying? It's all good. The dog go to a good home. Somebody maybe show it in an ADBA show or something, Because pretty much all the dogs is ADBA, pretty much. Now, if I think it correctly, I think they are.
Show them in a good light. They could even have a running kind of record, development of the dog. Show them at a certain age, and later on,
right.
Maybe if they do something with them.
Exactly. That'd be
and
good.
Show
story like Medisol.
There you
that
go.
bitch. I think she went up to Oregon and got the second place in the Ring of Champions.
Nice.
Ring of Champions, second place. I got the picture of the ribbon. You know what I'm saying? Native Gold sent me, keeping me updated. That's what I like.
There you go.
Dog,
yeah.
It's good to hear. It's good to hear that the dogs are out here doing good. That's all we want to know. As a breeder,
right.
Or if you got anything to do with the line, if your name's in the back of that pedigree somewhere, you just want to know what the dogs are doing. That's all. It's nothing big.
How they turned out, and somebody keep a record of it.
Did they big, small? You know what I'm saying? Did they have energy? Did they? You know what I'm saying?
All that.
Were they people shy? Did any people biters come out? You know what I'm saying? That's all we want to know.
Right.
So we can keep track.
Yeah, way of keeping track.
there was a breeding that was made, and there was there was a lot going on. Some pups got moved here or there. It was a extra long transport. It was a lot of stuff. A couple of the pups got to where they were going, and the only two that went to the vet, they said the pups were like anemic, or like, their blood count was low,
Right.
So, you can blame it on this, you can blame it on that, you know what I'm saying? One of the first things that I was thinking was genetics, you know, um, because you that's something that people don't always look at. Sometimes if the dogs aren't, healthy as an ox, or their immune system is compromised, or what I'm saying, a lot of that can be genetics. It could be one of those dogs or both of those dogs are bad combination. It could be too tight. It could be, a lot of different things. So I mean, we didn't really rule anything out, but that would be like a breeding that I would definitely need a whole lot more good results before I even go near putting those two together again. You know what I'm saying? It's just
Yeah.
you got to monitor that. That's how you do it.
Right.
Three of them came out bad, or two or three, came out bad. You gotta write that down. You can't just ignore that and keep doing the
Yep.
breed. Keep getting fucked up dogs. You gotta stop it and eliminate the bad genetic makeup.
Yeah, that's part of the breeding, and that's part of keeping track. Is it genetic, or was just a situation? And if it shows a pattern that repeats itself, then it's definitely genetic. And it could just be certain individuals in the litter. It could be from both the parents or one of the parents and not the other. It depends. But that's why you got to keep all them records and track everything and figure out where it's coming from, why it happened in the first place. It could be
Oh yeah,
the
historically speaking,
situation.
we're lucky for sure. You
Yeah.
know, that's all we tell. It's a podcast. We this like we were talking about basketball. We got to talk about basketball. This is a dog podcast that's specifically talking about American Pit Bull Terrier. So we got to discuss everything that pretty much we know or we've heard. Some people get up here off of real experiences. Some people, you can get up here and have a great conversation based off of stories that you read in the books and stuff. We all could sit up here and
Yeah.
enjoy each other's company, and we just chopping it up about dogs, man. That's why I'm glad all the information's out, because I'm gonna tell you, they the way the law did, they kind of criminalized me for knowing so much about the breed. you know it's like, well, if you know so much about this, you must be a dog fighter. You must be. So I want the knowledge to be as common as possible, because this isn't something that you have to go underground to get. Yeah, maybe back in the day, you had to be a part of a mail list or something to get the book, but nowadays, this stuff is public information, you know.
Yeah. They did a runaround on you because that even back in the day, the information was public. It just there's less of it and less people involved. That's the only thing that changed. There's more dogs, there's more people involved, but the information going back to the 1800s is there, and it was there. Richard K. Fox wrote a book about pit bulls, and he was the editor of I forgot the name of the magazine. It was a sports magazine, and it had all kinds of sports. It had dog fights, had cockfights, had boxing, had horse racing, and not only that, it had other articles on uh, you know actors and movies and plays and different stuff that he would incorporate into the magazine. The Police Gazette, it was called. Armitage wrote a book in 1930. You have Wayne D. Brown. You have even the Colby book back in the day. There's a lot of information and periodicals, not just Pete Sparks. He took it over. Originally it was called Pit Dogs as We Like Them. And he got that from someone else and he changed the name. But there's always been, even if you go like to New York and you go back to the late 1800s, there's newspaper articles written on certain dog fights and the pit bull in general. And you have notations. That's where I got that information about Nellie Bly. It had a list. Don Mayfield is the one that put it out, but it was back in the 1880s. And it had a list of all these public figures that were at this convention, at these matches. John L. Sullivan was there, James J. Corbett, Nellie Bly, Judge this, and a pastor, and different sports figures and entertainers, actors and shit, that were at least interested in the breed.
Right.
So they shouldn't have been able to use that against you because the information is there. You may have to search for it. And yeah, originally the Sporting Dog Journal, you had to have someone vouch for you, but over time he would just take anybody that wanted to subscribe to it. Anybody could subscribe.
The thing about it is, what's gonna fuck you is the lawyer's just gonna look at all the evidence for whatever it is. He's just gonna look at it, and 99 times out of 100, he's never had a case like this. You feel me? So
you're right.
When they start saying that, now I gotta explain to them like, yeah, this stuff is everywhere. I'm telling them like, yeah, man, you can get this stuff on Google. This stuff, just like the shots and stuff. He didn't know about that. The lawyer didn't know about that. He's like, so what's these syringes and what's this stuff? And that stuff I had to explain to him. And I'm sitting up in there kind of, my little, I got a lot of energy when I talk. So I'm just like, you can get that at Tractor Supply. You know what I'm saying? I'm just like,
yeah,
just going off. But that doesn't stop them from using this to persuade the judge. That's all they have to do. They have to persuade the judge, and then the judge is going to come down on you. Now, once the judge comes down on you, it's up to you to get out of it at that point. So they're going to go in front of the judge and say, hey, this and that, and he knows every bloodline, and he had a stack of paperwork, and these paperwork articles are printed by this company, and you know what I'm saying? They're gonna try to make it seem just like they told the judge. They was like, his basement is perfect for dog fighting. They said it's concealed, it's secluded, so you won't disturb the neighbors. Like, this is stuff that they told the judge, and then the judge listens to all this, and it's up to the judge to say, yes, I give you probable cause to go kick his door in. You see what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
That's what they do, And so if they're lying, then how are you gonna win?
Yeah, no, I get it. I got this from that's why I brought it up earlier. I got this from, he was a dog man, but his dad was a high profile lawyer in California. And he suggested, and which is why I brought it up, that at some point you have to take it from the civil rights angle.
Right.
Of your violation of civil rights.
Right.
And if you can get a lawyer that can do that, that's what the focus would be.
Right.
They're violating your civil rights, including owning pit bulls. Because you're right, they don't know shit. They don't know nothing. It's something as simple, like you said, syringes, medicine shot. You could buy it publicly. They don't know that.
Right.
Not everybody's a farmer or grew up
Right.
that way. So, but anybody who was in agriculture or in livestock knows you can do that. That's what they do. It's more cost effective. That's why we do it. Because you can't afford to take your dogs, and you don't have to take your dogs to the vet every time you want to give them something.
And but in their eye, I'm gonna tell you, because the lawyer told me, he said, if you can find any vet paperwork, any of that stuff, I need it. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, because
Yeah.
if you go to trial, the prosecutor's gonna ask, why didn't you take the dog to the vet?
Right.
And if you can't answer that, if you're sitting up there like you're done, you know, like you got to be able to answer every fucking question that they ask you.
Yeah.
If
And
you're
there's
gonna
more
take
to them than you. You know.
right.
So
And in this case,
they got
I probably would have had to take the stand in this case, because you know they're judging this shit with their emotions. Even the jury, you know, they're judging off emotions.
Yeah.
It's not just a
Now you're right.
regular crime that maybe he did it, maybe he didn't. You know, they already think I fucking did it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's already,
Yeah.
you know, you already lost that battle. And then I was telling somebody earlier, like, because everybody doesn't know the situation. Everybody's situation is different. My dogs were already gone and euthanized and farmed out, or you know, what do you call it? Adopted out, you know, before I was even charged.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? They did
Yeah.
that. They know to do that. They'll get your dogs first. They won't even charge your ass, because if they charge you, they have to actually hold the animals. You feel me? So they're gonna fuck you, and then once the dogs are gone, you know, rather if you do that hearing, or you know, they do the loophole. Once the dogs are gone, then they charge you.
Yeah, that's happened over and over again. Happened with Floyd, happened with whoever, happened with TL, happened with Bobby. Same thing. Get the dogs, kill them, and then they come back.
Yeah. That's sad though. But hey, man,
Yeah.
as long as we can talk about it, you know, it didn't kill you, it make you stronger, you know.
Yep. And it's out there. Maybe it'll help someone else in their situation.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. What you got for the rest of the evening, Mr. Garcia?
I'm gonna post up that video I made that I was talking about earlier. I got my mom here this weekend and just get ready for tomorrow. I'm a barbecue, so I prep my meat the day before. I usually brine it.
Oh, you're on it. You're on it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I haven't done it lately, but we used to cater a lot. Cater for Catholic diocese, cater for the military, cater for handicapped people, weddings, you know, communions, all kinds of stuff, birthdays.
Right.
So, and I love to cook. I'll make anything you want. You give me a list of what you want, and I'll make it. Don't matter what kind of food it is. It could be barbecue. It could be American. It could be hamburgers. Could be Chinese food. Could be Louisiana etouffee, lobster, whatever you want. I'll make it. Mexican food, Italian. I'll do it up to 200 people. That's about my limit because that's all me and Angie can handle. 200 people by ourselves.
Oh, that's good. That's good.
Yeah, we just get it done.
That's
man.
a lot though. 200. That's a lot.
It's a lot. Yeah, it is.
It's a
And
lot.
there, it's you know, once you get into it, you figure out, you know, what to do. It's about a half a pound of meat per person, and then a quarter cup of sides, and and then
You said quarter cup of sides.
yeah,
What, two sides?
uncooked, 2 sides, yeah, or 3 if you want bread. That's extra, or tortillas. You got to include that. You know, four corn tortillas per person, and 2 flour tortillas, like that. You know, and then you
No,
go over a little bit. You go over a little bit in case somebody wants more or whatever.
now if you're feeding 200 people, that's a pretty nifty check.
That's a pretty nifty check.
That's a pretty
And
nifty.
I'm not expensive. I did a ADBA show one time. I only charged them, just because it was a show. I only charged them $5 a plate,
Right.
and it was barbecue and potato salad and beans. $5.
Oh yeah, no,
I still give them their half a pound of meat.
So the half a pound of meat, that's the standard.
That's the standard.
That's the standard.
Yeah, it's an 8-ounce steak, or if you slice it, it looks like a lot more. One guy, he come up, he goes, "Hey Richard, can I just have the meat, a plate full of meat? How much would you charge me?" I said $10. I just loaded them up. I did that for 2 days.
Yeah, you hooked them up.
Yeah.
Up. Good. That's
Then
good.
after I charge, I donate half of what I made to the show, and then I keep half. So I broke even, but I didn't care. I was doing it for the dogs, But the somebody that like the military, they pay whatever. The Catholic diocese, they pay whatever you tell them to pay it. They just want.
Yeah, now they're giving 25, 30 a head.
Yeah, like that. Sometimes more.
I've seen it.
Sometimes more.
Yes, sir. I'm gonna let you get up out of here, schoolboy.
All right, brother.
Appreciate
Thanks for having me on again.
Through.
Salute to the chat.
Sure.
Everybody in the chat, thanks for your involvement and support. All them familiar faces. And we'll do it again, brother.
Hey, I appreciate you, schoolboy.
All right. Take care.
Right.
Peace.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Appreciate my brothers with the super chats earlier. Dickie Foster, Can't Stop, Won't Stop, Borderland Kennels. Appreciate you, my brother. Everybody that came through. We just had the change of flow. You know what I'm saying? I've been listening to what you guys been talking about. You know what I'm saying? We're trying to, even though I'm off, this is off for me. Until we do season 2 wake and bakes. You know how I do. I specialize in the wake and bake, so I'm gonna keep my wake and bake thing going. You know what I'm saying? You guys be easy, be motherfucking easy, man. You dig? Merino packs.
Oh shit.
You smoking Merino packs or what, bro?
Smoke a Merino pack. What's the other one? Sambo pack. What else we smoking?
Hey, I'll have what he's
Smoking
having.
mellow yellow pack.
Not the mellow yellow packs.
What else?
Shit. Oh shit. That's crazy. What's up with